Here.
Vice Mayor Rome.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner Wright.
Here. Present and accounted for. All right, I believe we have any business under the public hearing. We'll proceed on to the treasurer's report for June.
All right, good evening, everybody. Excuse me. So this is a last treasurer's report for fiscal year 2019. So this assumes everything that has been collected or spent to date, but it's not necessarily final. We do have some outstanding items that we'll have to make adjustments for, whether they be collections that aren't remitted to us until a month or two later, because they're collected by, Shelby County or whomever. So certain things may change from this, but this is I think a good baseline understanding of where we are. So I'll be brief because I don't want to bore you guys too much. General fund is probably what you guys are most concerned about. The general fund still has approximately $8.9 million in cash and rough equivalent in fund balance. In terms of tax collections for the general fund, we exceeded expectations modestly compared to budget. That could be for any number of reasons, maybe a reappraisal or maybe some new property came online, but it's very, very modest, nothing significant. Local taxes, including sales tax, was a little under our budgeted amount, and again, that could be for any number of reasons. So it's hard to explain what that number may be, but again, that's also modest underrepresentation of our budgeted amount. And then in terms of our expenditures, we budgeted a lot of expenditures that we anticipated to pay for through capital funds, or through capital grants, and some of those grant dollars were not expended, so that's why some of our expenditure line items may look significantly less than budgeted. That's nothing to be concerned about. Most likely what's going to happen is that those capital grant dollars will be considered deferred inflows for next year, and we'll use them to fund the projects in the succeeding fiscal year. All of our funds, including the general fund, let me back up. All of our funds, excluding the general fund and the sewer fund, have a modest fund balance. Some funds are as low as $100,000, some are as high as $1 million, but all of them are relatively modest. The fund balance for the general fund is about 8.9. The fund balance for the sewer fund is approximately $10 million. Of that $10 million, there's only $1.8-ish million in cash in the sewer fund, and the rest of that, the discrepancy between 10 and 1.8, the rest of that is accounted for in depreciable assets, so pipes, cars, trucks, things like that. And the debt service fund came in under budget. That's a good sign. Most likely that's just because we did not start paying the debt service associated with the TLDA loan for, I believe that's Huff and Puff, because it has not been marked complete by TDOT. Once that process is finished, we would expect in the next several months or so, we will begin paying debt service on that particular project. But that's already accounted for in next year's budget as well. So outside of that, there's nothing unusual about what I've seen so far. Most of the accounts, when we did a budget amendment that was passed this past June, I believe that was 26th, that budget amendment made most of our accounts, most of the expenditures be within budget. There are a few line items where some of the expenditures are slightly above the budget, but through some transfers before I close the fiscal year, we'll be in good shape. You guys have any questions? All right.
Thank you. Great job. Right. Let's move on to reports from committees. Let's start with Sheriff's report. We have a new lieutenant tonight.
Yes. Lieutenant Hall, the sheriff's office. With the faces, yes, thanks.
Lieutenant, will you lower your microphones? Would you repeat your name for me, please?
Coleman, H-I-L-L,
Thank you.
So the city of Lakeland had 30 total crimes reported during the month of June, 9 of which were from motor vehicles. Unlike the past months, these were mostly broken windows out of cars. We had 3 that actually occurred on the 2nd of the month on Lake Bridge Drive, so that's really the only trend that we could see. No more suspects at that time. Other than that, there was 3 theft from buildings. I guess the most important thing that we want to talk about is 3 of the vehicles that were broken into had weapons in them, and so those weapons were taken. Other than that, there was no other major crime to report. There was some domestic type stuff, and basically that's just minor vandalism. Other than that, questions?
Could you tell us what part of town those vehicles were at with the weapons you stolen?
Let's see here. One was Lakeland Hills. One was on Shade Green Cove.
Say again.
Shade Green Cove. And the other was on Lake Ridge.
Lake Ridge, that's Woodbridge. It's Lake Ridge. You said Lake Ridge?
Lake Ridge.
It's
Oh.
Woodbridge. Okay.
Doing some things.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks. All right, let's move on to the city manager's report.
One of the great things I get to do as city manager is bring forward new hires, and I want to introduce to you tonight Alejandra Arrieta. All right. She is our new staff engineer, a recent graduate of the University of Memphis, the civil engineering department. She interned at MLGW and the city of Memphis over the last few summers. When we advertised for this particular position, Emily and I were really pleased with the quality of applicants we received. We interviewed 5, I believe, engineering candidates. They're very difficult decision at the end. I think this really speaks highly of Emily and the contacts that she's created within Shelby County, within the universities, whether it's the University of Memphis or Christian Brothers or others. She is well connected in the engineering world in Shelby County, and that has really showed in the quality of candidates that we've seen, at least for this round. So we're certainly pleased to have Alejandra on board, and she's been here with us 2-3 weeks now, maybe a month. Okay. So we're excited to have her on board, and she's meshing well with our existing staff, and a very impressive individual. So you'll hear from her in a little bit. Any questions for her, or?
Just like to say welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
A couple things on my report that I wanted to highlight. I didn't get a chance to mention at the last meeting. I really wanted to do that. This is obviously a big project, and when we talk about the Aldi project, just to give kudos to all that were involved. The Vice Mayor was involved in this well before I even came on board, kind of behind the scenes, trying to get this project to move forward, understanding the importance of another grocer and what that does to sales tax revenue. Also, Dexter Muller, our economic developer, really works tirelessly behind the scenes on this project as well, with coordinating a lot of moving parts. There was a lot to this project. as we work with the developer, Aldi, and trying to make everything mesh in that area. So we're certainly thrilled to have another quality grocer in the city of Lakeland. And as we try to promote buying in local, this certainly gives our residents another opportunity to keep our sales tax dollars in the city of Lakeland, which is outstanding. I was able to attend this week a ribbon cutting. Had my first Smoothie King smoothie. Being from the north, we don't have those, so it was very good, very enjoyable. So always enjoy coming alongside new investors and small business people to really thank them for their investment in our community. So that was very fun to be a part of that with the Lakeland Chamber as well. A ribbon cutting coming up next week. Of the New Life Medical Centers. We'll have a ribbon cutting kind of in the same plaza as the Smoothie King on Highway 64. That'll be July 18th. July 18th at 10 a.m. That's just down a few suites from Smoothie King. Also coming up, the Lamp concert. Next Lamp concert is Saturday, July 27th. The Will Tucker Band will be performing at this concert. So we're the last event kind of got the rain cycle kind of moved in at a bad time or didn't move out quick enough, and that certainly impacted our attendance at the last Lamp event. But we're certainly hoping for good weather for this coming up on July 27th. The big part of my report I wanted to provide is just an overview or update on current USDA financing. And again, to give really kudos to all that's been involved in this, city staff, Dr. Horrell and his partners, A2H and Renaissance Group. We've all been meeting, whether that's conferencing on the phone or pulling together for meetings. USDA has been just outstanding to work with. Their communication has been very, very good, keeping us updated on which boxes still need to be checked and what's remaining to be done. As you know, anytime you get federal dollars for anything, there's quite a lot of boxes to check and due diligence to complete. So we, as a staff and Dr. Horrell and his partners are certainly working to get everything that USDA needs in a timely fashion. We're really kind of putting everything else aside, and if something comes up, that goes to the side, and we're focused on making sure that we respond timely to needs that USDA has presented as they're doing their review. But I just want to provide a timeline for you on kind of what's transpired to date. So on June 10th, we actually submitted the application for $56 million in USDA Rural Development Community Facilities Loan. June 19, A2H submitted their environmental report, and associated with that report is a 30-day public comment period where all potential stakeholders have the opportunity to respond to that report. So that 30-day window public comment period ends on July 18. July 12th, going back a little bit, the other thing that's the environmental report is a very critical document, as well as a report called the Preliminary Architectural Report, the PAR. That will be submitted by Renaissance Group tomorrow, July 12th. So between those two reports, those are the big items that USDA needs to have as part of their review for this loan. So again, the 30-day comment period expires on July 18. July 19 is when the final financial feasibility analysis will be submitted in accordance with the architectural report. The final USDA Rural Development Review will be completed during the week of July 22 through 26. And I just got confirmation before I came out here this evening that USDA is planning on a projected commitment letter coming from their office on August 2nd. That is the latest update on that. In regards to the Shelby County Trustee's Office and what's happening with our tax bills and so on, I have, based on your instruction, I have instructed them to hold off printing and mailing Lakeland tax bills. I did that on July 8th. I did receive confirmation that they received that notice. They will be entering all tax codes, all tax rates into their system. They were programmed to do that yesterday, July 10. So our current rate will be programmed into their system as was discussed at our last meeting. Once we get the commitment letter from USDA on August 2nd, obviously, I will ask the board to consider having the trustee's office make a manual change to that, and whatever associated funding or expenses are required to do that. Obviously, we'll get authority from this board to do so. So that is kind of where things are at this point. I'm happy to try to clarify anything further or answer any questions at this point.
Clarification will come around the transactions that occurred between July 1st and say the 15th, or whenever that tax rate hopefully is set on, right? So not to make a decision now, but we need to understand what the ramifications are of prorating that or making that effective July 1st versus effective August 15th. So there may be a tax rate between July 1st and August 15th, or whatever that date is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Otherwise, tracking back is.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
The other thing I was going to ask was a project timeline, not just on this project, but as we saw, we've had several projects that rolled over grant funds. If we could just kind of get a rolling tab, so as part of your monthly report, we see, okay, these are outstanding projects, these are things that we have already approved, where are they in the process? You know, we'll talk later possibly about parks, you know, that has been slowed down. We're waiting on some information in the next month or two from New Canada Road, you know, possibly. So we've just got a lot of different projects in the area. It'd be nice to kind of have one central spot.
Sure. Anything else?
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Shane. And moving on to commissioners' reports.
I have a parks report. We met Tuesday night, and as we always do, we go through progress and things that are needed in every one of our city parks. And so I'll give you some updates, starting with Sadie Cool. We had visitors from Mr. Cool himself and the veterinarian that has started the pet hospital. We did talk about some dog park updates, and they were working on a drainage report that we do feel like has been handled by moving in some stone to keep water moving from the top of the park to the bottom of the park, and there will be entrances into the back of their property, as well as keeping the entrance into the park from the neighborhood open during the opening. There has been a camera placed there because in the past few weeks there's been trash collected and some activities that we need to check on because of the things that were left behind when the visitors to the park left there. And so the sheriff's department was contacted again, and they came right over and checked everything out. And now that the camera is there, hopefully we're going to be able to catch those perpetrators and let them know that that is not the place to be leaving their trash. Plantation Hills update, the checkerboards and everything that Andre Nolan provided for that park are in good shape. None of them have disappeared. The camera was there, and since we haven't seen any nefarious activities there, it has been moved to the IH Park location. The athletic complex update, TDEC is finishing up their report, and we should be able to move forward with a contract date about the middle of mid-August. And after that contract date rolls through and we get our contracts, the next step would then be the design process. There's a preliminary design that we looked at the park meeting, and all of the park board members were happy with what we saw and believe that it's going to be a wonderful asset to our town. We met at IH Park so that we could see the new tables and chairs. They're very nice. The people that use that facility will be happy to have those. No more bright orange wooden chairs and rickety tables. They are very nice. Unfortunately, there was an unexpected expense because the air conditioner compressor went out and did have to be replaced at a cost of $2,800, but there were funds left in the budget to take care of that. New paint has been purchased, some LED lights, and some new TVs so that the people that use that facility will have those things available to them. They're still doing an update to the wireless Wi-Fi situation that should help people that rent there. There was an Eagle Scout project completed by two brothers, the Newland brothers. One of them put in a new bench near the lake and replaced the boards on the seating part of the benches to make those nicer for us. And one of them redid the red trail by marking it, and it is now mapped. So if any of you are interested in that, it has been taken care of. In Windward Slopes Park, there was an Eagle Scout project completed by Jackson Hyman. He's been in the news a lot lately. He is a cancer survivor that is a Lakeland resident, and he got to participate in the St. Jude Dream Home presentation of the winter. And he's also been out at Windward Slopes working. He repainted the ball wall and has added some more dog waste containers, so that's nice. In Parks Administration, we have had 2 people leave from Public Works, and so there are 2 new people starting this week. So, and there's also been some spraying around the city in different parks. So if you see dead, dying grass, it's actually not the grass dying, it's the weeds. And hopefully when those weeds are out, the Bermuda could take root and spread, and those parks should look a little better after that. The Senior Center update, they had 70 plus participants in their Stars and Stripes dinner. The Trustmark Bank sponsored that. They were there to see Joyce Cobb, and if I understand, it was a great event. July 13th, the River City Boppers are doing a fundraiser, and we continue to see the numbers at the Senior Center, the participation go up, so that's being well utilized in our city, and we're glad that the seniors have somewhere to gather and have these wonderful events. Keep Tennessee Beautiful, there's going to be a run, and they're going to actually use our trails. It's going to be kind of like a cross-country type situation. They are interested in us going ahead and reaffiliating with them through our Keep Lakeland Beautiful Committee. So we will be taking that in under the Parks Department, and then once we are recertified, because that recertification process is very soon, the deadline, we will then be discussing whether we'll keep it together with Lakeland Parks and Rec or if it will be divided again like it once was. There is a young gentleman by the last name of Burkhead. I did not write down the first name, but he is interested in putting in a bat house near the lake. And so bats eat mosquitoes, and there are plenty of them around the lake, so we are interested in absolutely letting him go ahead and complete that project. Should be quite interesting. The lamp concert, the last lamp concert, since it was not rained out, but rained tempered, since our the people participating were less. Dick's Sporting Goods has a check to present to us for $500. They are one of the title sponsors of the layout process. And Sprouts, there's going to be a check presentation from Sprouts as well. They were the title sponsor. And Kevin, remind me, $5,000.
Dick's is a sponsor, but Sprouts is the headline sponsor.
And I don't know if you know or not, but Dick's is participating in every concert by bringing 3 $25 gift cards to give away during the concert. So we are so happy and fortunate to have those two organizations and businesses helping us to do some great things in the parks. We always have lengthy meetings. Our meetings cover a lot of material, and Kevin, have I covered most everything we did? There's always a recreation report of all of the different sports groups. So if anybody is ever interested in that, you can contact myself or Kevin. We will be glad to email out Wendy Haley's report that she provides to us every month. I don't feel like I need to read that out now, but we do have a lot going on with tennis and soccer and upcoming football and a lot of things going on in the city of Lakeland. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Sure, absolutely.
Commissioner Dodd, can you talk a little bit about, I know there was a conversation about trying to find temporary flat fields, and that there was some excitement around possibly using some land that was purchased for New Canada Road in the interim. And I had received some emails of people that were excited, but also were a little bit confused about why we couldn't use that. So if you talk a little bit about what your
The way I understand that is that there are some water mitigation issues. Chad Reynolds and I walked the property, and it's a flat piece of land. However, there's a manhole on one end that was very obvious, and I've been told that there were 2 others, but it looked like to us that we could get some good weed control in there, do some mowing, we would at least have some flat surfaces. We were even approached by one of the neighbors who came out and whose wife was really worried that we were going on and starting that New Canada Road project, and I told him I wasn't there for that at all. We were looking for a place for children to have soccer practice, and they were very excited about that. They said they would love to see kids using that land up until the point where we begin to develop it. So as far as I know, I was advised by Emily through Kevin that because of the manholes, that it might not be safe. We were not concerned about the length of the piece of land that's available. The width is not like a regulation soccer field at all, but it would provide practice as well as very nice already established parking areas. If you know, when you turn into Owl Hill and Plantation Hills, they have those white picket fences that mark off where the future Canada Road will go, and you could get 10 or 20 cars in there if we needed to. So I don't understand exactly, because I haven't had a conversation with Emily about that, but if we used it and we provided safety over those manhole covers, it might be a really good option. So can you speak to that for just one moment?
I haven't been out there yet, so I need to go out and look at it, but it's just, based on what I have to report. So I would need to go out and look at it and see in person.
Right. Our soccer teams are faced with they have some land to practice on, but it's just not good because they're crowded and they're in and out and they're sharing, and it's just not ideal for them to be practicing on. And Chad Reynolds is very involved with soccer, and he actually felt comfortable with it, with us having children out there with just some good mowing, get it mowed down. There might need to be a little bit of dirt brought in to level out a few surfaces, but for the most part, it is generally flat. So I really would like, if you have the chance to get out there and look at it and see if it could be utilized for that purpose, because it's a great central location. The parking's already there, and even if it's little kids running around, they don't need the full width of a soccer field or the full length of a soccer field just to practice, you know. I think it would be ideal. We already own the land, it's right there, it's not going to be used immediately. We need to get them someplace to practice until we are able to open the athletic park fields, which it looks like it's going to be fall of 2020 before that's ever, you know, we can ever even do that. Because of the what are they called, wetlands that they found there, the plan that was originally brought forward for that park and that land are not going to be able to be used because of the wetlands. 2 fields, maybe 3, but not 6. So we do need to look, our recreation programs are growing daily, and our citizens are absolutely interested in having their children participate in Lakeland Rec. So we need to find, we're kind of in a situation where we need to find something within the next 30 days, if possible. I know that there's a citizen who works with the soccer fields. He works with the younger kids. He's actually made some calls and is out looking. We've asked everyone on the Parks and Rec Board as they drive through Lakeland to look and see if there's any big flat piece of land that would only require some mowing and some weed spraying, but parking is very important as well. So we're all looking, we got our eyes open trying to find some place for our babies to practice soccer.
Thank you for the update.
And will you let me know when you have it? I will be glad to meet you out there and walk the land. The former owner of Tops Barbecue was there and came outside and talked to Chad and I, and he's very important. He's really wanting to put a Tops Barbecue place here in Lakeland, but not the original location that we were thinking. But he was very excited about potentially being able to sit in his backyard and watch the kids play soccer. So I don't think we would have trouble with the neighbors because they're fence on both sides of that piece of land.
Yeah, I'd like to just go walk it and make sure that,
Right. You know, I don't think it would take a lot of grading of any sort, just maybe smoothing out a few rough spots, but for the most part, it is pretty much flat out there, so it might be an option. And if so, they could start pretty soon. Get some weed killer out there and get a really good low mowing on it and make some lines out there and let them go. So please let me know as soon as you can get to that. I appreciate it. All right.
Okay, I was gonna speak to that. Yeah, I think it's on the every other week mowing for that particular field, if I'm not mistaken.
maybe every 30 days.
It used to get, when you outsource, it used to be really high, and now the city's taking over, it's much more manageable now. So it's not bad, and it wouldn't take too much to get it down. I think the manhole things are those raised drains you're talking about. So there's several raised drains that come up, that have steel and concrete, which is something I think you can get around.
Only one of them was really high.
Right.
It was at one end,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't even begin the field until beyond that. And then the others were very low to the ground that might just take something being placed over them, perhaps during practice. I don't know, but using resources and land that we already own and can get going fairly quickly, that's our hope to do that.
You got partners for both sides.
Exactly.
Outfield and Woodville, so
Yes.
people have used that for people that live nearby. Use that as parking. If they're having a party or something, there's a great little parking lot.
Right.
And I think the paving people have used that as like a base of operations for gravel. So, so it's
You can get 10 or 20 cars there. and there's shade trees so that the parents who come to watch could put their chairs under the shade trees and sit and watch. Other than the manholes, it seems like an ideal situation. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's see anything from, NPC.
Just meetings coming up.
Yep, meeting next week with NPC, so, look forward to that. Sure Forrest has a nice stack of papers for us again. All right, we're gonna move on to the public discussion part of the meeting. I have 2 appearance cards. If anybody else would like to speak, if you would please see Ms. Dever, she'll give you an appearance card. Jim, I'm gonna ask, you've got, your agenda item is number 4. Would you like to speak during the discussion phase of that, or is there something particular you want to talk about during the discussion?
No, if I could wait till then, that'd be good.
Okay, no, I don't think we have a problem with that. I believe that's what your intent was when you had to throw that out. I just want to make sure. We only have one other one, Shannon Stelbrink. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Shannon Stelbrink, 9659 Shadowburn Code. At the last meeting, you terminated the contract with the city attorney, an attorney that you had handpicked, might I add, because you felt like you didn't thoroughly investigate possible ethics violations. Yet when constituents have emailed you of complaints or actual ethics violations or any other concerns, you ignore them. Commissioner Dial, Commissioner Wright, and Vice Mayor Roman, you 3 sit up there with your mightier-than-thou attitude and have stated that you don't have to answer any questions asked of you by constituents, and you 3 stick together on this, not answering to anyone who questions you or your decisions. This board is one big ethics violation. This is also ironic since the previously stated that hiring an ethics officer would be going down a slippery slope, but yet you have ethics complaints. The way this board has violated the constituents' First Amendment rights is beyond disgusting. This board has violated First Amendment rights by using a form of extortion to obtain the high school. You threatened us with higher taxes if we used our First Amendment right to petition. We played along, and yet you still passed higher taxes. Our First Amendment rights are violated on social media by Commissioner Wright's constant censorship on his official commissioner page. In fact, this was just ruled on again 2 days ago by the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. I say all this just to say, here we are again, with you handpicking an attorney. We can only assume that because you didn't get the results that you wanted from the last one. You had an opportunity then to pick an attorney to save the city thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars that could have went to repairing the roads or even towards educational opportunities for the students in the city. But you ignored that. But here we are again in the same situation, hoping to get a different result. If you expect an attorney to investigate possible ethics violations, then we as constituents should expect the same from our elected officials. You are elected to serve all citizens of Lakeland, not just the ones that agree with your agenda. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Shannon. Anyone else want a card? All right. We will move on to Sewerage Commission business. Nothing tonight. No sewers tonight. All right, Madam Recorder, if you would please read the consent agenda. We'll move on.
1, approval of meeting minutes of previous meeting. A, regular meeting minutes, June 26, 2019.
A motion to bring this to the floor.
Moved. Second.
Motion and a second. The agenda items open for discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll? We will vote.
Vice Mayor Roman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Let's move on to the regular agenda.
May I have the floor?
Absolutely, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our last meeting, we did table a motion to amend the 2019-2020 budget to reduce our taxes. That item is still on the table. I would like for us to bring it from the table.
I will second that. And if I understand correctly, being a tabled item, there is no discussion and there is only a vote to bring this back to the table at this point. So we will need to vote to bring this back to the table and then we can open it for discussion. So you're making a motion to bring back to the table.
Item 3 from the previous agenda, from the June 26th agenda.
Okay. That's in our packet, we just approved it. Madam Recorder, would you call the roll to bring this tabled resolution back to the floor?
Vice Mayor Rome,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, the motion carries unanimously to bring this back to the table. I guess I will open the floor for discussion.
Item 4, please.
You absolutely may have the floor.
With the encouraging news that the city manager has provided us, I think it's essential that we go ahead and take an action to reduce the tax rate now. As you mentioned, Commissioner Roman, there's going to be some lapse in there. It's going to be hard on the people with the credit taxes. If a house gets sold between now and then, there could be problems. I'd like to go ahead and just lower the taxes now because we promised the folks we would do that. If for some unknown reasons, which I don't think is going to happen, if the USDA goes astray, we can always come back and go where we were, go back to the other plan. So in any event, the high school is covered. So for the good of the people in our city, I would appreciate it if we guys would, all of us, ladies and gentlemen, reconsider that. Let's pass that amendment and move on. And so, Mr. City Manager, do you want to make any comments or? I don't want to hit the blindside with it, but it has to be brought up at this meeting, otherwise it's dead.
Yeah.
One second, I just want to follow up with what, if I understand correctly, and looking at where we sit right now with the USDA loan, what we were waiting on to get our letter was the environmental study. If I'm correct, I'm pretty sure I'm correct. And with that, I think common sense would tell everyone that's a citizen of Lakeland that we already have a school building on that property, so the chances are slim to none that there will be environmental issues to add the additional high school wing to what we already have built. The second piece to this is because it's an environmental study, if for some reason it did come back with an environmental problem, it doesn't matter what kind of loan we're trying to borrow money, they're not going to let us build a school on it until we get it fixed. So I think the right thing to do, because we're solely waiting on the USDA to give us that letter of commitment, this being the environmental 30-day period, which runs out, as Shane said earlier here, just in a few days, that it's pretty obvious that, like I said, we've got a building there. I don't think they're going to find anything. If they do, it doesn't matter if we're looking at capital outlay notes or USDA loan. We're not going to build anything until the environmental study and plan is corrected. So that's my 2 cents worth. I don't think that we're doing the citizens of this city a service to keep the tax rate up at 189 when we can reduce it right now today and save us all a lot of headaches. And especially the trustee's office, who's been so gracious not to print our bills. I believe we can get this taken care of ASAP and all move forward and join hands and get behind making this the greatest school in Shelby County. And I believe that with my heart of hearts. So I would just ask each of you to consider that. If you look at what the holdup is on the letter of commitment, it's strictly environmental. So with that, I would also ask that we consider taking our tax rate back to 125.
Sure, I'd be happy to vote on first reading. Of course, second reading, correct, Mr. Manager? Yes, sir.
Sure. Mr. Manager, could you give some more information on this July 19th beginning financial feasibility study that will begin on the 19th? The boxes to be checked in that process. as well as what is going to occur the week of July 22nd through July 26th for a review of that study, and then that takes us till August the 2nd to get a commitment. So what are we waiting on with that financial feasibility, and what are we waiting on the review that will occur the week of the 22nd?
So Kyle has been feeding them financial data as requested to put this feasibility analysis together. Looking out 5 years, they wanted a 5-year projection on what we thought the budget would look like from a revenue and expenditure standpoint. So we made those projections, we provided that information. With the PAR, this preliminary architectural report, there'll be a few financial related items associated with that we will need to provide on their appropriate forms. So once that's submitted on the 12th, we will submit whatever remaining financial information is needed for that PAR report, if you will. And then the environmental, the 30 days comes and goes on the 18th. The USDA will complete their final environmental review based on any written comments that were received and address those written comments. And then that week of July 22nd through the 26th is when kind of USDA will run through the entire packet of information, if you will, to make sure that everything was submitted and all the documents are in place. So they kind of gave themselves that week to do that. And then obviously August 2nd is when they thought, the critical thing from their standpoint is they wanted to make sure that that 30-day review process ran its course completely. They did not want to circumvent that process by giving us a commitment letter before that, because that kind of undermines the process if you're a stakeholder that has been provided that opportunity to comment. So that needed to run its course. So by then, all the reviews will be done. August 2nd is when they're projected to make this commitment, provide this commitment letter to us. My stance hasn't changed from the last meeting. We're firmly entrenched in this and firmly committed and believe that this is the right form of financing, and they have been very diligent, and the project manager for us, he's getting feedback from people about him, on a weekly basis, asking about the City of Lakeland's project, where it's at. This is a priority for USDA rural development. So we're going to see this happen, whatever it takes to get there. We're committed to doing it. They're committed to doing it. That has not changed. So.
Has anything to date been brought forward in relation to that environmental study?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't seen the actual environmental report that was submitted to USDA in a draft form at this point. Obviously, we don't know if there's been any public comments during that 30 days to this point, so we're kind of waiting for that to run its course. But I talked to Dr. Borrell about what came up during the middle school environmental report, and he said it was pretty well much nothing came out of that. No, the stakeholder groups had no issues with it. Obviously, this is a bare piece of land now because they prepped the site for this project, so we obviously do not anticipate anything coming out from this environmental review standpoint, but obviously it needs to run its full course.
So the trustee's office began to enter their data yesterday on the 10th.
Yeah, I have not confirmed that they actually did that yesterday, but that was the date that they shared with me, that they wanted to input all Shelby County, Shelby County's tax rate and all surrounding Shelby County municipalities in at that point. Obviously, I've asked them to simply delay entering that. Their stance then, and kind of rewind if they said this at the last meeting, but obviously a delay would result in a delay for Shelby County to receive tax revenue. and all municipalities that are affiliated with Shelby County that use their services. I'm not sure who folks that pay their tax bill in July, I'm certainly not one of them, but maybe there's people out there that pay their tax bill as soon as it comes in the mail, and we certainly thank them for that. But the critical thing, the thing that's going to cause some issues is the escrow accounts. And I don't know a way to, we kind of try to put our heads together, but they release, all financial institutions get these tax rates once they're input. So if your taxes are escrowed, your escrow schedule is going to be impacted, obviously, which means you're going to pay, your mortgage is going to be higher. Obviously, when that gets trued up, in the spring of next year, that's money that you put in, that's your money, and they'll make that true up at that time. But I just don't know of a way to do that short of trying to get this done before they input the rates. But obviously that has come and gone.
Also, as I mentioned, selling the house will be a problem. If you sell your house right now, or buy a house right now, you may pay too much tax or not pay enough at the closing. We're in no man's land right now. Make a decision.
I think the sooner we do this, the lesser impact we can have on those kind of things, especially the home savings. We want people moving here, for sure.
Can you give us a copy of the actual resolution or the ordinance?
Oh, from last meeting?
From the last meeting. And then we can maybe, if you guys don't mind, put it out of 18 and revisit it, so we actually have it in front of us.
Sure.
Just for clarification, the benefit of doing this tonight would be that the next time we get together in October, assuming we have a commitment letter, that would be the second reading, and so it would be effective at that time. And that way we don't have to have another 7 days passed before the second reading. So the benefit of doing it tonight would be, one, show the intention of the board, and two, next time that we get together, if there is, in fact, a commitment letter that we can.
August or October.
In August, whenever we get back together, that would be the benefit of doing this, right?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Until every year.
I mean, the other option, I guess, is to meet 7 days between readings, do this again in 7 days, get our notice out, have a second reading, and obviously, so that part will be set aside. We've already done that, and then all we're waiting for now is the commitment letter. And they say August 2nd, but I know how aggressive they've been. If they get their reviews done, it could be, that last week of July. Things could move up. I don't see them being pushed further out. I see them moving up because they've been very aggressive. Initially, when we talked about it, they were like, well, we want to get this closed by the end of the federal fiscal year. And, the date I just got was, August 2nd, earlier today. So, yeah, that would certainly put one piece of it behind us, so we wouldn't have to try to, once we get the commitment letter, try to schedule, or either wait till the next regular meeting in August. That part would be already set.
And it's actually ordinance number 3 on the minutes we just passed from the 26th, so it's actually in our packets if you want to take a look at it. So staff won't have to rush to copy something for us. On page 411 from the minutes from the last.
Yeah, I think Kevin's going to print it off the actual ordinance.
Okay, yeah, it's just a notes. All right. So, got it back on the floor. Do I hear a motion to move this to item 18 for tonight's agenda, and we will pick this back up when we have a chance to get those printouts and read back through it.
Second.
All right, I make the motion. Mr. Gonzalez seconds. Let's just do all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, ayes carried unanimously. We will pick this up as item 18 on tonight's agenda. And let's move on to the regular agenda, resolution 1. Madam Recorder, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution appointing Will Patterson of Wiseman Gray, PLLC as interim city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Resolution's brought to the floor. We are in the discussion phase. Turn that over to you, Vice Mayor. Response with this.
Sure, I asked City Manager Shane Horn, obviously we need a city attorney in the interim until we decide what we're going to do next, and we're very familiar with Wiseman Gray, and I asked them to reach out, and they would be happy to do it, and so I asked them to put this on the agenda for tonight. So we have a familiarity with Wiseman Gray, and they have a familiarity with us. I know that they had they basically went through some changes, same time we went through some changes, and so they took a few minutes to regroup. Yeah. So I think that they could be a good fit now. If they were willing to do it, I would ask you guys to support it.
I'll make a couple of comments during the discussion. As you can see, resolution 2, I've actually asked Shane to reach out as well to the gentleman who got the second most number of votes at the meeting where we actually had hired Mike Marshall. And actually I know Mr. Ken Kratzky's in attendance tonight, and when we get to that, I'll ask him if he would like to speak. He's the gentleman who came up and out of the blue saw the posting, totally anonymous. I don't know that anyone of us up here knew him. I had recommended someone who came and applied for the job, as did others on the board, and I have to be honest and say I voted for Mr. Kratzky because I was impressed by his interview and not the person that I actually nominated. So I think that speaks to someone who can come in with no ties to Lakeland, that can actually be a voice of really true law. But I will get to that when it gets to my resolution. But I think we might be jumping the gun hiring an interim when we have an opportunity to hire someone who can not only save us some money, but has a great resume with the Shelby County government. So that's all I have to say as far as appointing an interim for now. I don't believe it's necessary, but
Floor.
you have the floor.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. Also, we've asked Will to help out on the IDB right now. And that would tie up with, we have the same attorney for the city and the IDB. We have been down the road with Wiseman and Bray before. And I think it's time for a change. Bringing someone who in America over this with some pretty good credentials for the county government for a long time as being the attorney for the county. And I think we need someone at this point in our city who is really versed in municipal law. I'm not going to take any more of you think.
Any other discussion on item 1, hiring an interim? Hearing none, Madam Recorder, would you please call? Just so sorry.
Mr. Manager, I noticed there were some blanks. Is that to be negotiated later, or what are we going to do with them?
Yeah, I was hoping that we could get that what the board's interest was as far as negotiating an hourly rate that was asking.
Right.
I wasn't sure.
If we leave it to you to come up with the best rate.
And then come back to you.
I would think so, yeah. This is, and again, I'm still in there, thunder. That's the big winner. You know, he'll be a part-time city employee, he'll be our attorney. We won't be getting, Mike was a good attorney, but, you know, Mike was sending us responses in deposition format, which cost us some money. And I think, looking at the limited financial means in our city, this would be a great move. And staff would have a attorney, a full, part-time attorney that belongs to us. He is retired, and like me, he needs something to do.
If we don't put something in the lines, does it delay when the start can be? Because then you have to go back and have some sort of negotiation, correct?
Or you could authorize a certain break and put it in there right now and see if we can get that done.
What was the rate of language?
It was 225.
And it was left at 175, so 200. All right, so I would like to,
I'm sorry, both of them are here. If you have any specific questions you'd like to ask either one of them, they are here.
well, I don't want to muddy the waters. This particular agenda item reflects only one.
Right. Absolutely. And we don't want to cross the lines with the resolutions as they're noted. So, any further discussion?
So under item 5A, it would be, both of those lines would say 200 and 200. And if for some reason you can't get that done, you can come back.
All right. Any further discussion?
No.
All right. Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll for resolution 1?
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
No.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
No.
3 yes, 2 no's.
All right, motion carries 3-2. Madam Recorder, would you please read resolution number 2?
Resolution appointing Ken Kowalski as city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion to second on the floor. Floor is open for discussion. I would ask Mr. Kratzky if he would like to speak and kind of go over his resume again, and hopefully he can impress us to believe that he's the right guy for us.
Well, good evening. It's a pleasure to see all of you again. As Commissioner Gonzalez observed, one of the things that's changed since I talked to you last, I think when I talked to you last, I told you I was anticipating retiring from Shelby County government on March the 31st. I did declare my independence, so I am now officially retired. This is the first time that I've worn a suit and tie since March 31st.
How nice.
So I had I'm going to be breaking that streak. I have, however, not set my alarm clock since March 31st. So, and that, I didn't have to set an alarm to get here though. So that's fine. I'm not sure, as you have hired an interim, where that places this particular agenda item. If you, I suppose, I'm happy to talk to you tonight. I'm happy to come back. I think I represented this last time I was here, and now that I'm retired, I do have to admit I have truly enjoyed being retired, and I highly recommend it. To do so. And to that end, this is not a job that I need to have. This isn't a job that I'm, desperate to obtain. It is a position that when I saw it coming open last time, when I saw that Mr. Patterson 1 was leaving, that it might be a good opportunity to have a position that I would enjoy and where I feel like I can give value in return for having a position. although I did throw you a curve by saying, let's do it as an employment relationship. But having done some of the math, and you know, this will change it, and I had already done the math, and I went to law school, so I never have to take a second math class, so I did this once, but your budget for legal fees for this particular advice and counsel line item is $90,000 a year. In the last 2 years, you spent somewhere above $100,000. Doing the math based on a $250 an hour rate, which was what we paid outside counsel at the county, so I presume the government rate would be fairly close to that here. That runs to about 360 hours or around 30 hours per month of legal advice time. Based on what I proposed then and would still propose now, my wage rate as deputy county attorney was $65 an hour. I would get together with Mr. Horn. We decided a number of hours that we thought would be the sweet spot, at least at the onset, somewhere 12 to 15 hours per week at $65 an hour. At 12 hours per week, that works out to $40,560 a year. At 15 hours a week, it works out to $50,700 a year. And as I mentioned last time, I would ask that you provide me with a Westlaw account, which, from what I understand, for a small governmental entity, around $150 a month, so that I would be able to do research. And I believe that would also include 1 or 2 other licenses, so you could have other people on that if you wanted them to. But no matter how that went, we're still way south of $90,000. Now the caveat, if you get sued or you decide to sue someone, we'd be hiring outside counsel to handle that, and that might change the number some. But you'd still have a pretty good surplus in there, given that we all decide to behave and all people who deal with you behave. And that also doesn't count that what you may have insurance for defense and things like that, where you wouldn't have to spend that. From the standpoint of me, I've been practicing law for 21 years, the last 8 of which were with Shelby County government. The predominant title I had during that time was Deputy County Attorney. I moved up to that level. I dealt with, I think it was 43 elected officials, including the 13 very distinct personalities on the county commission. I believe that we could probably handle the disagreements that may come up, and hopefully would be able to do so with dignity and respect on all sides. I guess now at this point I'll answer questions, because it seems like we might be doing this again at some point in the future. I don't want to take any more of your time.
You should go for it.
I think the major issue that I had last, and this isn't a job review, I mean, we're up here having this conversation already. The major issue that I had last time was that we would need to hire out multiple different specialties, and you kind of saw yourself as a quarterback, the person that went out and found the best person for each different area. And so that's kind of where my drawback was. Okay, you may have an employee, not employees, but you're most likely going to have other resources.
In addressing that, the same situation would present itself with a law firm. You would have the person that's here as your city attorney, but if you needed bond counsel, and I really don't know enough about Wiseman Bray to say, but I don't believe they have anyone on staff that is bond counsel, or that is regular bond counsel. So you'd have to hire bond counsel anyway. If you had, there are some circumstances where it would be someone else within Wiseman Bray that may be able to handle it, or taking them out of the equation. Whatever law firm you may hire, ultimately as Wiseman's your interim. If you should decide to hire a law firm in the future to fill it as a more permanent position as opposed to interim, you would still be in a position where you would either be having other people within that firm at their hourly rate, which would be whatever you can negotiate or more, handling those types of items anyway. So when you take the core number down to $40,000 or $50,000 a year, that allows you a fair amount of surplus as opposed to what you would otherwise be spending if you needed to bring in that expertise. I hope that was. So I guess what I'm saying is it's going to be the same thing no matter who you have as your city attorney. There will be some jobs that the city attorney just shouldn't handle, whether it's investigation of an elected official or a bond counsel, those types of things. Those are just things that have to be done by outside counsel anyway. And so if you're starting at a lower number, that just gives you more surplus to put towards that number in my way of thinking.
That's what I saw in his initial interview several months back. Is we started a baseline that's basically half of what we're paying now. He's here, he's available, staff needs him, he's here. He can answer questions on the spot. He doesn't have to be emailed and wait, and maybe it's 2-3 days before we hear back information. He can actually be an integral part of the staff of this city, and with the background of 20 years, in practice in the last 8 at Shelby County government, I don't know anyone that could be more qualified to figure it out here in Lakeland for us than this gentleman standing before us. That's why I brought him back to the podium tonight. So,
and if I may, to that end, as I mentioned, we come up with some type of a salary level that would be based on a certain number of hours. But my thought is, we would sit back down at the end of the first quarter, and if y'all are killing me, I'd tell them, look, this is fun, but I'm working full time, and I'm supposed to be retired, and you're paying me part time. If by the same token there hasn't been the need for me, then we may have to talk about the end of the first quarter. Well, we're really not using you as fully as we could be. We need to back the number of hours down. And so, I know it would be something new for you, and certainly something a little bit different for me. But if I'm not here, as long as I'm not out tending my tomato plants or something, when the cell phone rings, I'll answer your question, and or more than likely, let me do a little research and I'll call you back. But you would be my only client because I would be your employee. So there would not be the conflict issue that I've heard mentioned and other things like that. You're it. So
it's win-win all the way around. We're the only client. We have flexibility. We're getting kind of a half-price deal going off. We're getting experience beyond all control. So I appreciate you coming back and speaking to us. I believe you're the right person to be in that role long-term. So
thank you for the opportunity.
Any other discussion?
This isn't for Mr. Kratzky, but I was just going to say that I hate that this resolution is tied to his name, if you will, because he seems like a great guy and a great candidate. But I think the idea of adding an additional employee to City Hall is kind of a discussion of its own. So I'm not quite ready to add an additional employee.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Long,
No.
Commissioner Dow,
No.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
No.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
2 yes, 3 no's.
Resolution fails. Madam Clerk, would you please read? Kim, I appreciate you coming. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's a question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How long will the interim period last?
Thank you.
It's not, yeah, I have no idea. I will say that, if you don't mind, speak for sure. I will say that the institutional knowledge that the previous firm brings is huge. This most likely will be my last 14 months in public office. So I would like to get as much accomplished as we possibly can. So I'm hoping we can all row the boat in the same direction and basically just mock Tim with our hair on fire, see what we can done in 14 months. So that was the reason that the institutional knowledge was such a big deal.
All right.
One more
Would
question.
you like the floor?
Please, thank you.
You have the floor.
What was it removing him from the item B? Let's get someone else in that position.
That's not up to you.
Will's role on IDB will be obviously a supporting role to Al. Al will still be the primary attorney representing the IDB. Will will provide support to Al as needed, but I don't anticipate that being a huge time commitment for Will. In this 2 to 3 month potentially period.
Attorney in Lakeland.
Thank you, Shane. All right, Madam Reporter, if you would please, let's move on to resolution number 3.
Resolution appointing a member to the Lakeland School Board.
Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. It's on the floor, open for discussion. Mr. Coleman. Sat down too quick.
I'm sorry, I'm not really obviously sponsoring this, but I just needed, I was asked, as you all were, by Dr. Horrell to put this on for board consideration, so that's why it's in front of me tonight. I'm not obviously sponsoring anyone to fill this need. I just kind of put it there as a placeholder for this point, so I'll leave it up to you all to discuss this going forward.
Sure, you have the floor.
I would like to invite Michelle Childs to come forward and tell us about herself and why she will be a great person and she has good resources that will help to fill this seat. Ms. Childs.
My name is Michelle Childs and my address is 4110 Pineville Cove South in Lakeland. And first, I just want to say it's an honor that you would consider me and let me come up here and speak. I've lived in Lakeland since 2008, except when we were on a recent expat assignment to Poland. And I've lived in the Memphis area since 2000. I had children at Lakeland Elementary from 2011 to 2016. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Tennessee. I've worked with students for about 20 years in various capacities, primarily as a social worker at youth villages for 16 years. I worked at the Dogwood campus, which is right down the road, and it has an on-site school. I worked with foster children for many years, attended many IEP meetings on behalf of the foster children, and worked closely with the Department of Children's Services educational attorney. I was a substitute teacher during graduate school. I volunteered weekly as a reader helper at Lakeland Elementary during my son's kindergarten year. And after that experience, I worked with my church to implement a similar program to a school local to our church at Cordova Elementary to help other students have the same type of reading practice opportunities with adult volunteers. I've been a room mom for the last 3 years. And for almost the last 2 years, I've been a crisis text line volunteer for the United States to assist people in crisis and who are also suicidal to remain safe. This includes many young texters as young as 11 or so, but mostly teens, although it goes all ages, who would text in. Many would not be getting the help that they needed from a school counselor or the parents they need. And at this point, I've talked to about 2,700 people over the last few months. And I also want to point out, I have my son and daughter will be in the 5th and 8th grades, grade 5 and grade 8 at LMPS next month. So what I bring to the table is dedication, hard work, social work ethics. I'm very passionate about Lakeland students getting an outstanding education and having their mental health needs met as well. Also, this time in my life makes it a good fit for me. I have the time to serve Lakeland with the demands necessary to bring forward the high school to fruition. Thank you for your time and your vote of confidence in me to serve the Lakeland school system.
Thank you, Michelle.
Wow. I don't know what questions are up then.
I appreciate it for your availability. I like this. Appreciate it so much.
Just to say, as a matter of discussion, the only contact I had was from a Miss Jenny Kiesel, and I am not nominating her, but she said there wasn't somebody very qualified and stuff that she had to do it. And I think Ms. Kiesel would have been a great addition. I believe Ms. Child too, so thank you.
Okay, with that, I would like to nominate Zachary Coleman. Zachary Coleman ran for the school board. He worked tirelessly in campaign. He's a young man in this community. He's a recent graduate, become an attorney, recent father. And I know we have just, last meeting appointed Jeremy Burnett, who also campaigned for Board of Commissioners. But I'd like to see someone who was interested enough to get out there and pound the streets and put their name out there and really work hard to be on the school board. I don't believe it's right for us to overlook Zachary, because I believe that he was the next highest vote getter that wasn't elected. So I'm going to nominate Zachary Coleman as a member of the Lakeland School Board as well. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, Madam Recorder, would you call the roll, and we will be voting for either Michelle or Zachary.
Vice Mayor Long,
Michelle.
Commissioner Down,
Michelle.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Zachary.
Commissioner White,
Michelle.
Mayor Cunningham,
Zachary.
3 for Michelle, 2 for Zachary.
Congratulations, Michelle.
Congratulations, Michelle.
All right, Madam Recorder, would you please read resolution number 4?
Resolution approving a development contract for the Lake District Plan Mixed Use Development Phase 1.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second is on the floor. Ms. Kennedy, would you please speak? And I have Jim's card.
Yes, so I'll just kind of introduce it. So this is the development contract for phase 1 of the Lake District, which is primarily the frontage on Canada Road and I-40. So in calculating the development fees, you'll see in the memo, there were a number of fees that were paid by Lake Forest Development, the Bells Development. That public infrastructure was never accepted by the city and will in fact be removed. So they're eligible for that credit. So that's what you see in the memo. So the total development fees are $257,722. There is also a security requirement for the public improvements in the amount of $726,445. This is the first 40 acres of the development. It will be 16 lots. 14 of those are commercial out parcels, a large center development area, and then an additional defined parcel. So this includes the infrastructure. So most of the site grading has been done, but maybe some fine grading, putting in the public utilities, stormwater, sewer, and then roads. This does not include vertical construction. This is all infrastructure. Do you want to hear from Jim? I don't believe Jim wants to.
Yeah, he does. He filled out the his card. Name and address for that.
Yes, sir. Jim Atkinson, 3009 Davies Plantation. Also a Lakeland resident, but that is my work address. The development contract is good. We are going to request one minor amendment for you to consider tonight. But before I do that, if you don't mind, Yehuda is here. He has a brief update on the status of the project. If you're okay with me deferring a minute of my time to him, I'd love to do so.
Thank you, Jim, for limiting for 1 minute. So tonight I'm the bearer of good news. And next week, everybody will get to see the rendering of phase 1, which is going to make everybody very happy. Also, it was not that long ago that some of you have been sitting in the pouring rain when the beginning of the grading took place. Well, the grading is just about done for phase 1 now, record time. And if you go by Canada Road, you will see that the Canada Road and the Lake District are basically almost on the same elevation now. Used to be quite different. We also, we announced yesterday, remember, that one of our very first, very upscale store, it's called Social, which is curated by Carmen Bond. It's a store for gracious living, as she calls it. And she is bringing with her a slew of other like-minded, very upscale kind of tenants, which is really what the Lake District would become in addition to providing for the basics of this community here. The schedule is on track. We are planning on starting the infrastructure as soon as we get the first portion of the building permit. And that could be as early as 10 days from now, but we hope. The rest of the phase one is pretty much on track. We should be in a position to start vertical construction permitting, assuming permitting on hand in September. And everybody's getting excited about the process. The fun begins now. As the mayor said, it's the shining diamond of the city. Now I'd like to correct you, Mayor, because it's becoming a whole necklace now.
Let's get it done.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the minor amendment. This has something to do with security. Payment security is a little over $700,000 to put down. It's typically done before the development contract is executed. What UDA is asking for in this case is a slight deferral of that to the end of October. October 31, 2019 would be the deadline to get that in. And the reason is it's done pay cycles. So it currently has the infrastructure loan ready to go. The next pay cycle comes out in the next 30 to 60 days. That would include the security. In addition to requesting that deferral for 2019, this is another safeguard. We understand that we would not connect to any city infrastructure during that time until security was down. So this would allow him to get started once the construction plans are approved, get moving on that, getting pipes in the ground, but would not connect until such time as security is down. And again, the absolute latest that would occur would be October 31st of this year. So that's the minor amendment we're asking for in the development contract. Everything else looks good. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so the next step is just basically going in the ground, as we talked, not vertical, in the ground. So we'll see a lot of progress. We'll see a lot of progress coming up in the next few weeks.
Once the construction plans are approved and pre-construction meeting is held, yes.
So just to be clear, Jim, he's getting a $250,000 break. Now he's asking for a $700,000 break for a while.
Well, I think
I'm just going to be honest. This whole project has been, you know, about the month, and this come up again. So it concerns me. You know, we all try to cheerlead, be cheerleaders for him. It seems like every time we have a conversation, well, you give me a break, and I'll come up with the money. And I think the city's tired of that. I know people out there in the community are pretty well fed up. Now, I was very encouraged when we started moving her around. I drove by there yesterday, and I even saw they're doing a surveying on the elevations and stuff. And that's encouraging. But it seems like every time we come together, it's crazy. Just give me a little more time to get some money together. And it's discouraging.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to address that personally. What you're looking at is a $10 million investment right now underway. The dust you see there, this is a $10 million cloud of dust. So please report that to your constituents and everybody else that this is well underway. We are simply trying to sequence the timing of these payments so they coincide with our bank funding and the way that we fund the banks. We are paying the fee in the next sequence. It's simple. We get money from the bank once a month. We cannot do it now, but it will be done within the 2 weeks. And that's the 200 and, how much is it? 250 something? Okay, the $250,000, please report, is being paid within a matter of 2 weeks or less. The rest of it have nothing to do with the city because we're not connecting anything to the city. I would like to know if your constituents are going to be happy with what's going on, or I'm not sure what the complaint is about. Please explain to me once and for all, because we are busy busting our butt out there, getting things done, and all we hear is complaints or trash cans, or I'm not even sure what, can we do anything right? This is the biggest project in Shelby County. What other developers have done a project this size anywhere around here lately?
We've made a commitment to you for $38 million, for $30 million TIF. And
I'm sorry?
We've made a commitment to you for a TIF. I think the number was around $30 million, $38 million. It's been so long, I can't remember.
Let me explain to you once again.
Listen to me for a minute, sir.
Okay.
All right, all this started 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years ago in October. That's when they gave you the TIF. All right? All I'm saying is the people in this city want results. And I'm telling you, they're tired of waiting. And now you're coming to us and you're saying, well, gee, I can't come up with $700,000.
That's not
That's just bad PR, I'm just telling you. And I want you to succeed, but I'm going to be your biggest critic up here.
Commissioner, TIF is our money, not yours. Just to explain to you, again, TIF money is money that we generate.
I understand it.
We give it to you, and you're giving us a portion of what we give you.
I understand.
So just to make sure.
I understand. I didn't bring these things that you asked for the first time. But all I'm telling you is that it's always something.
There is always something when it comes to a project this size. Thank you.
May I comment? I think we need to understand the dynamic that is private industry. It's private. This is not Russian. So we have to create an environment that is conducive to private industry, that creates an environment that wants them to come here. If we're hostile to private industry that could choose other places, that's been a constant cloud of doubt that other developers have looked at lately. When you put that kind of dialogue out there, I think we need to be careful when we say that. That's, I think, measured. I've been very quiet tonight. You guys may have noticed that. I could talk for hours on this. I'm just telling you, I'm just tired of this negativity. I think we need to allow developers the comfort of knowing that we'll be behind them, understanding that also the Lake District is not just some strip mall, which is what most other developers do around Shelby County. Really, let's be honest. What's going on in other towns? They're glorified strip malls at best. The Lake District is beyond that as a project, way beyond that. We don't have anything like that around here in the South. On the West Coast, yeah, they do, but nothing around here like that. So I think we need to create an environment that allows other developers to think, okay, I'd like to do something like that. I think we need to be careful.
Well, I disagree, Rusty, because I sincerely believe that it's not our jobs to be cheerleaders once we give these guys the opportunity to develop something like that. I think it's our job to hold their feet to the fire. And in this case, we've been more than accommodating. And all I'm saying is that I'm just telling you what I hear from the folks. Now maybe you hear something different, I don't know. But it's just a big, they just shake their heads. And it's time to see a result. It's time to stop asking for breaks. It's just time to make it happen and make us all happy.
I don't look at it as a break. I look at it as something moving forward as far as infrastructure. And I hear people are very excited about it. That's what I hear mostly. And I think people need to understand it's a process because it's a huge piece of land. This is just phase one. After that, phase two gets even better. So we need to keep it going.
We'll agree with this.
Vice Mayor's asked for the floor. You got it, sir.
Rather odd negotiating tactics, Mr. Judah, but okay. The only thing I was going to say was that I don't disagree with Commissioner Gonzalez. And I don't disagree with Commissioner Wright. Yeah. The amount that we are trying to be a champion and cheerleader for this project, constantly is asking us to make concessions. Some of them are big, some of them are very small. In my mind, this is a smaller concession because We have set a finite timeline on it. We haven't connected to the city of Lakeland yet, but I don't disagree. It is a concession, and it's a slippery slope when you start, putting one project's priority over another, when you decide how you make these concessions. So this is not a light decision at all. This is actually a pretty weighty decision. But we're all very heavily invested, and I believe it's something I can live with. So that being said, I'd like to make a motion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was
when
gonna
you make that,
I was gonna add this.
Okay, I got you. I actually agree with you. I think the five of us sitting here have to realize when we make exceptions for one, we're gonna have 10 more at the door knocking on the door looking for exceptions to their projects as well. So we've got to be very, very careful how we proceed for the future of this town and the city's sake. Is we can't have every developer coming up saying, well, you did it for him, I want you to do it for me. Well, you did it for him, I want you to do it for me. We can't function that way. We are a small city. We need these funds. I'm pretty confident that some of the city staff probably don't agree with this exception, that this needs to be the time to put your foot on the accelerator, spend the money and get this thing out of the ground. Like you said, it's going to be the necklace of jewels. Let's tie the clasp up and let's hang it around our neck. Let's stop pushing the can down the road with exceptions on things. So this is huge, because if we set a precedence here and we allow one exceptions, we're going to have others following suit wanting similar types of deals. And this town can't afford that. I really don't believe that we can afford that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Atkinson, you mentioned pay cycles. Could you please describe what you mean with a pay cycle for developers and why this October 31st date comes along for that pay cycle?
You can probably answer that better than I can. I can give you the Reader's Digest version. Right now, he has an infrastructure loan in place to start this next phase of the project with an infrastructure loan. Security is not included, and that's included in the next pay cycle, which will be in the next 30 to 60 days, I believe, for that portion of $700 and some thousand. So what this amendment would do is allow actually not a deferral and hold the project off, but actually allow them to keep on moving. So instead of waiting with nothing happening on the site until this gets done, at that point the development contract would be executed and then he can begin construction of this infrastructure. This would allow him to get moving quicker while he's waiting on security to come in. Now, while he's waiting on security, we have two safeguards. One, we're not going to connect anything. And then secondly, this will be done no later than October 31st. And I believe that's a window that's been pushed back farther than probably necessary, more safeguards. So
he can't do any further work on putting the infrastructure into the ground until we've collected this security.
That's a typical process, correct? And construction plans being approved, and those are still under review as well.
So if we do go with your suggestion, he can go ahead and continue to put the infrastructure in the ground, but not connect to the city services at this point. Because if he did, then the liability or the responsibility would then fall on the city if he were connected to our system.
That does sound like possible legal questions. Can we have an executive session to kind of discuss this?
Commissioner, that is correct. We cannot connect any portion of our infrastructure to the city. So for that reason, but we are doing it for the purpose of accelerating. Everybody's tired of waiting. We would like to continue as fast as we can. So that will allow us to continue. We are under obligations with numerous tenants to deliver the shopping center for everybody's next holiday season in 2020. So to that end, we need to perform. We need to do the infrastructure, but not to connect it. So we came up with that solution. We can continue, not to jeopardize our timetable, and at the same time not connect anything to the city for that short duration of time.
I just have one other question. This this goes back to Business 101. It's called Project Management and Planning. How are we 3 years down the road and we're just now finding out that we need a little extra time to get an exception for something financially? Where is a project plan with milestones that actually show that this is going to get done? Because I've sat here for 7 months now and I've listened to, we're going to do it now, we're going to do it then. I want some plans brought before them, this planning commission, and I want this thing set in stone that we're going to progress and not just have a bunch of talk, we're going to do this and that. I want to see a project plan with milestones, forecasts, where you're going to be here, you factor in weather. How can we be 3 years down the road and we're sitting here looking at, oh, well, we just need to move it down the road a couple more months. We should have seen this 6, 8 months ago. I just don't understand. From a common sense business mindset, this does not make sense to get here tonight, bring this before this board, and say, I need an exception. This city needs to go by its policy. You need to pay up, and let's get going, get this thing built. So that's my comment, and you think we need to?
I would like to.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. We have a 5-minute executive recent session.
Do you have a second? All right, motion second, any discussion? We'll be right back, folks.
Wow, I didn't realize it's still triathlon. Where does he ride? Darn, I have a trainer. I have a trainer. It's on bike, which we're not using. He keeps it, so he can put a show on and the other bike at last to get the I was surprised at how small a team we were, I guess, on Tuesday. Because of past previous experience and idiotic and the other kids just
Our coverage is kind of the only thing. Sometimes that's all wrong. A little bit. That's the mid-count.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Oh, oh, you had a post on like that. Oh, okay.
And so, kids were there. Hey, it doesn't, so we also. School board meeting never did come up.
Yeah.
Work it there.
Right.
Not there.
Well, other than that, we love it. Love engineering, does one of those things.
Let's put it right before you went happy with the 100 block. And then you got the first city with the turn.
Well, they said Dan was like, you were ahead, and you stopped. You were not like you were he had practice before that. Yeah, I was like, still on
Never take the beat. We're in a problem. Tell me how many flat hours first year. And it was there. Older than yesterday.
I guess not thinking. Because we haven't really done many camps, but I had signed up for camps this week way back before school started. Next year, until schedule find out. This is four.
You okay? Yeah, I know.
I was going to show it to you. Let me see if I can get you out of work.
Down 30%.
That is the as I said when we did school last week. Yeah, specific to you can take your classes.
Yeah.
Your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm fine. Your travels were good?
Yeah. Came back.
You've been on another trip?
No, I was in New York.
And did your husband go for the whole time?
No, he's in and out. Yeah. And now the mother's visiting us this week, so.
You brought her back with you?
No, she got here yesterday. She doesn't like to drive, we drive, so. She couldn't ride in the car for 20 hours, so.
And she's okay. See, I think my wife's paying the belongings for I'd rather have my car.
Yeah.
Which is what I wish I could have had in Alaska if I would have had my car.
I got it on the website yesterday and got an update, just a little test right now.
So have you changed it?
No, but I asked them to take photos for both things, so we have more content to put on
It's pretty, weird.
Yeah, there's just some.
Yeah, and it's just been there for so long.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's no current information on there either. It doesn't say who is.
Right, yeah, we'll have to. We'll have to do a different theme, maybe. But he did it many years ago.
Well, and I don't mind keeping it updated. I do the other two sites. I do our Cool Springs site. And, you know, I just go, I mean, I don't really change things on there. I just news and new neighbors. So, it's good with you?
Good.
Y'all are swimming away the summer, aren't you? Love that either.
Yeah, we wrap up, we were talking about that, we wrap up the summer swim tomorrow.
And then when do they start the next season?
Porter swims kind of throughout the year, but the club swim is just during the summer.
Oh, yeah. So summer's over in July?
Yeah, it's over.
We have to give chance for people to get done and go on their vacations.
Oh, I got it.
So we holiday time, we're gonna get mad at it.
Well, we certainly did swim team in our lifetime, so we understand, and travel, travel for this.
I was just telling her we have 85 overall. That would let me know how many are from Lakeland.
They give you a list?
Well, I'm sorry, I got the count. I just haven't two counts.
We're on a five. I mean, you got the list and it says Peter lives here, Susie lives here.
Yes,
And you haven't added it.
I haven't added it up, but we just have recruited heavily just because of where we live. And so of the 85 swimmers, I would say 75%.
Yeah, it looks like to me it's a social event of the evening.
Yeah.
When everybody comes home that night, starts cooking pictures.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what else, last year we had 45 on the rock. And Anna took pictures for us, and she gave everybody free, so they would post them on their Facebook page. So the friends were saying, what is this? I want to do this. So last year, anyway, I kind of doing all the approaching. This year, I took care of myself. Everybody was talking to everybody else.
Some credibility, yeah, it's some credibility.
Here's solicitation of the small.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do it with a self-search swimming pool at his property.
You do build a water complex.
At the hotels? Oh, you mean the lakes? You mean people do swim meets in the lake?
All right, let's call this back into session. It's good to have council that's well versed on this, that's for sure. So, would you like?
Sure.
Lord? Absolutely.
So, based on executive session, our attorney had not had the opportunity to review the documents yet. And so I have a question. Would you like a vote on this tonight, as is? Or would you like our attorney to have time to review the request and take it back up at our next appointment?
I'd like to clarify quickly a couple of important points. The fee is cash, that is being written, made to the order of the city of Lakeland, which we're ready to do as soon as we're ready, as soon as we're ready to sign the agreement, and hopefully in a couple of days or a week, it's going to be done concurrently with the signature of the agreement. The second issue is not the city's money. It's really a security to make sure that in the event we are connected to the city's utilities and it becomes a liability to the city, then there is security to cover for what happens to that infrastructure. That is the question. And until then, there is no connection. So I would like to go ahead and ask for a vote now based on that, in case it was not understood. And the reason I'm asking for the vote now is because any deferment will delay the project. I'm responsible for numerous tenants. I'm responsible for the city of Lakeland to make sure that this project is delivered timely. Any delay will be caused by the city of Lakeland, will cause that delay right now. I want to make sure that the issues are crystal clear now. The cash is being paid to the city's coffers now, with the agreement signed. The deferment is purely academic. It does not put the risk, the city, any risk we're not connected. And I assume that the city engineer may have confirmed that for you, I assume, I was not in the group. So I would like to know if the city of Lakeland's representatives are supporting the Lake District and making it possible for us to deliver this project in timely manner after the horrible rainy season, that we make progress unlike anybody else. So I would like for the vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Netanyahu. I will speak to the comments that were just made. Our council has advised us that we're still about 2 weeks out on our city staff looking at and approving the actual plans. Anyway, and I want to correct one thing. Just because you're not connecting to the city's services does not leave the city non-liable if for some reason you put in infrastructure that is substandard or doesn't work or there's issues with, and you decide to walk away from this project, the city is responsible for that liability. So yes, the 5 of us sitting up here have the citizens of Lakeland's checkbook at heart when we make decisions like this. It's not solely your money. This is taxpayer dollars if you happen to walk away and your infrastructure that you put in, even though it's not connected, is subpar. And I think all of us want to give our attorney and our city staff the opportunity. They say they need about 2 weeks before they're, good to go with the plans anyway. So I don't think it hurts to defer this decision right now. I understand you're willing to pay the fees, but it's that security deposit that protects our taxpayers if something's done substandard. So that's what I took out of what we discussed, and I appreciate our new interim attorney having a great skill set and knowledge in this field, and was very good at guiding us in the right direction. So
I'll make the motion to defer this item until our next appointed meeting, with the understanding that our attorney will not only review the current document in front of us, but also review the request made by Mr.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll on deferring this to the next meeting?
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, the deferral will hold until the next meeting. We will take this back up and we will have council. We will absolutely move forward at that time. Right. Madam Recorder, would you please read resolution number 5 as we pass watch?
Resolution appointing members of the Citizen Advisory Board.
I sponsored this resolution because when I ran for commissioner, I thought that a great idea to bring our community together would be to create a citizens advisory board, primarily to make people point persons for your districts, to collect information from your district, to bring to City Hall, as well as learning information from the City Hall to put back out into your district. Keep the lines of communication open between districts, City Hall, and neighborhoods. Also to become more familiar with the workings of City Hall. Just like we've just gone through, we needed to be advised of processes that have to be followed before anything can be accepted and move forward. These are timely steps. They do seem to take a while, even to bring the dog park to fruition. We have step after step after step to check those boxes. This will be a way to help citizens be more aware of those things, so questions don't pop up. Why is it taking so long? You will then have those answers to take back to your districts. We are looking at a kickoff event in September, and I'm very pleased to see so many applicants interested in this board. I think you're going to learn a lot. We are going to learn a lot as a group, and you will be a representative for your district to bring issues and take issues back to. On the wall is the map of the districts as they have been divided, and you can kind of look and see where your district is and the amount of area that those do represent, and it's great to see that we've had interest in all but one of the districts. So you will become familiar and have opportunities to speak with people from Public Works, from the Code Enforcement Agency, the planner, the city engineer, the Parks and Rec Department, the EDC, the IBB, and the MPC, so that you can see how all those processes work. It's going to be similar to the Citizens Board in Bartlett, to where they get to learn a lot of the same things. We'll take a trip to the sewer department and the wastewater treatment plant and to all the parks, and let you get first-hand experience with those types of things. So I applaud you all for coming to this meeting and putting yourself out there. I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you. We will meet quarterly so that it's not such a strain on our staff when it's their turn to come to present to you, as well as not tying you up with meetings every month, because I know you all have families and other obligations, careers to take care of. So I was thinking the least amount of impact on your personal life, but yet a time commitment that will work for all of us once a quarter. We will be beginning in September. So, Shane, would you like each person from each district board? Have you had an opportunity to review applications? Do you feel the need for people to come and introduce themselves to us for each district?
I was just going to make a statement. I received a notice from Jeff Roman today that he has to be removed from consideration.
Okay.
So I was going to scratch him. And if for some reason I see that there's not a District 7, I don't know how this would work. I wanted to nominate Tim Joyce for District 7 if he did not get nominated in District 2. I didn't know if,
Is that the area, is that Sterling Place? Jim, Shane, Jim Atkinson being here tonight has kind of thrown me off. I apologize, Shane. Isn't that the area, because Area 1 would be Bent Brook, Cobb Road. Is that what that was? Is it? I think it is. As small as it, I really do believe it is.
And there's really no rhyme or reason to, actually Josh is here, he really set up the district, so there's no rhyme or reason to this, so feel free to.
Obviously.
Did you feel that bump? Did you feel that bump from the bus?
No, I'm not, certainly not.
No, I'm teasing you, Shane. Totally am.
My point is there's no loyalties to any lines here, so
Gotcha.
feel free to.
And North Lakeland's district is so large, however, all the homes and the land there are so spread out and, wide that it makes sense to bring that all into one, where the most populated areas are the smaller districts. So would we like to bring everybody up? How would y'all like to?
I'd like to hear from the people
Whoever
that
wants to
don't.
speak.
I'd just like to know if Mr. Joyce is willing to serve for the people of District 7.
Do you feel comfortable with that, Mr. Joyce?
Yeah, but personally, after this first round takes place, there may be somebody who may come forward, and I don't want to be someone who would prevent somebody who may be interested in their local area. I don't want to be a barrier to that, but in the event that nobody feels that.
Okay, so you would until someone.
Yeah, I mean, I have a natural interest in my own area for several reasons, which is
You're in district number 4.
So I have a natural
No,
interest
2.
in.
I'm sorry, number 2.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the number of people in each district.
Yeah.
So, 2, whatever, green or
District 2 is green, yes, and.
So I.
Wait, I can't see it, wait. Hey, go up there with your pointer.
That's how many of the blocks are in this district.
Yes, it is, I'm sorry too.
Yes.
District 2 is skin color.
So District 1 at the top, and then coming down to District 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then these are the numbers of people who applied to be in each. Sorry. And when I did this at the Parks and Rec board, it came up to the map to do some stuff. I had my 4-year-old granddaughter with me, and she said, "Oh, Mimi, you're doing such a good job." So maybe that makes more sense. So let's start with District 1 and have Mr. Green come forward.
Michael Green. Sorry to dress up.
I didn't either.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry I didn't dress up, but my name is Michael Green. I live at 9420 Trotter Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to serve my area. They all come to me anyway.
Don't make it easy on you.
Yes, yes. But I'm willing to, I'm a team player. I'm willing to bring problems and troubles and comments and positives to the board so that everyone knows what's going on in different parts of our area.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so from District number 2, Jamie Henson. Hi, Jamie.
Hi. I'm Jamie Henson. I'm at 5360 Concord View. I'm actually neighbors with Richard over there in Evergreen Hills. Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to also being a voice for our citizens out there in our district too. I'm actually looking forward to being in the option of getting to talk to you guys and getting to know this city of Lakeland. I'm actually a new resident. I've been here for 2 years, been in Arlington for 10, 11 years. So I'm looking forward to being a part of the city of Lincoln and helping out.
Thank you.
Mr. Joyce.
Just making sure my electronic device is off. My name is Tim Joyce, and I live at 5366 Evergreen Creek. And I've lived in Lakeland a little more than 5 years now, although I am lifelong Shelby County, except for some college years. Been very active with my HOA. I'm on the board there, and I'm actually, I take on the Yard of the Month thing for our HOA. I used to win the Yard of the Month for several years until I took over the program, so I can't give it myself. Although I still devote the same amount of time to the yard. Also, I've been involved with the HOA on some other things. As the board remembers, about 4 years ago, the light, gas, and water transformer substation blew up in basically my backyard. And I helped organize a meeting here with the city, with our neighborhood association, to talk to light, gas, and water about the situation. I think it was a good meeting. However, the explosion caused some damage to my home, and light, gas, and water has yet to really try to do anything about fixing the roof on my house. But light, gas, and water is a pretty big fish out there in the ocean, but I've given up hope on that. But anyway, very interested in what the city's looking at doing here. I'm a big believer and supporter of district representation. I think that very much helps. But appreciate your time and interest, and look forward to hearing from you and see what your consideration is on this position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kimberly Rossi, last one for District 2. Hi, Ms. Rossi.
Hello. Thank you guys for having us today. Thank you for putting this board together. I think it was a wonderful idea. I know I spoke to Richard and several people in the election just about how do we bring the city together, so I think it's perfect. I am a mother of a 2.5-year-old son, a future Lakeland school system student. My husband's a police lieutenant in Collierville, and I'm the director of communication strategy for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So what that means is I handle difficult communications projects, and I think we've all faced those out here in Lakeland. I think the key to this board is going to be communication with our citizens and with our districts. I'm no stranger to board service. I was the district chair for the Southeast District of the Public Relations Society of America. That covered 2,200 members. I had to keep them involved in what we were doing, so I can do it for District 2 as well. So every time I see it on Wesley's post that we are the greatest town in the Mid-South, I completely agree, and I look forward to helping to make that even more true.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we have District 3, Mr. Charles Mays.
Good evening, everyone. Chuck Mays, 4042 Fur Hill Drive, District 7, District 3, Plantation Hills. I too, like Tim said, I think district representation is a good thing for the city. It gives everyone an individual voice and a place to come from it. I've already exchanged local messages with Commissioner Wright. We have a big project coming through our district with New Cannon Road about potential ways to slow traffic or do different things with that project. Been with Shelby County government for 22 years. Have a lot of experience with grant acquisitions, working with large groups, emergency response. It's a lot of things over the last 22 years, and look forward to this opportunity as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chuck.
And Jason Valentine from District 3. Guess he wasn't able to be with us tonight. All right, District 4, Benjamin Ledsinger.
Hello, good evening. Only my mom calls me Benjamin.
Okay.
I'm in trouble. It's okay, you didn't know.
Well, I'm a teacher, I know about it.
Yeah, I just automatically straighten up, Lived at 3896 Leeward Slopes Cove. Lived in Lakeland for about 10 years. Got 2 kids, and well, one's about to go to Arlington High School, but has come all the way up through Lakeland, and one in 6th grade at the middle school. I'm an engineer by trade. Work with municipal governments. It will be very interesting to me to work with one on this side. So thank y'all for the opportunity, and look forward to participating.
And Miss Susan Richardson, she sent an email.
She wasn't able to make it, so she wanted me to share that email with y'all.
She had a little statement that she would like us to share. If you don't mind, I'll read that. Her message is that in 1970, as a teenager, she worked at the ice cream concession stand at Lakeland Amusement Park and fell in love with this place. After more than 40 years of a successful career in IT, I was finally able to buy a home here. I've since retired, and now I feel a pull to serve my city. I'm a good listener, a critical thinker, and I'd be happy to represent my neighborhood on this advisory board. Thank you. So that is her message to us. All right, District 5, Thomas Davis. Hello, Mr. Davis.
How's it going? My name is Thomas Davis. I live at 4467 Coldwood. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at ServiceMaster. I'm a lifelong Memphian. I've been here my whole life, and I'm passionate about this community. I try to give back as much as possible. I've only been in Lakeland for roughly 3 years. A couple of years ago, I graduated from the New Memphis Institute Fellows Program. Through that program, it's a leadership program, and they learn all about government. I actually got to present to City Hall some tax stuff at one point, and it really intrigued me. So I've gotten involved locally in a lot of different things. I'm currently on 3 boards, the Memphis Women in Technology. I'm also on the Cloud Security Alliance, and I'm on the New Memphis Fellows Advisory Board. I'm a strategic thinker. I'm passionate about this community. I spent 15 years in Arlington. I owned 2 different houses there. The reason I moved to Lakeland because I was not happy with the development that was occurring around me. And I moved several times to try to avoid it, and we ultimately landed here. This is a place I've always wanted to be. I remember my first house in Arlington when I was 23 years old. I had a neighbor move off of C-Tick. I couldn't, in my mind, understand it until I drove there, and I realized this is where I always wanted to end up. So this is a dream of mine, and I really want to give back to the community. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas Hammond. And Mr. Jonathan Spiceland.
Hey, good evening. My name is Jonathan Spiceland. I live at 4507 Mount Gillespie Drive, Oakwood subdivision. My wife and my two kids have been there for a little over 2 years now, and we could not be happier with our decision to move to Lakeland. Right away, we got involved and immersed in the school system. We both serve on the PTA. I serve as the Watchdog Dad Coordinator. My wife does a lot of special events. She's also on the PTO at Lakeland. This summer, my wife and I are in charge of 85 kids for a summer swim team. I think about 80% of them are from Lakeland. So we have thoroughly enjoyed interacting with those kids and their parents. I always tell folks, I'm a glutton for punishment. I love to surround myself with people who don't agree with me. I think that's the only way you grow as an individual. I think it's the only way you can grow as a person. And so I think this opportunity to serve in this capacity would be great, because we're going to talk and interact with folks who aren't going to think the same way that I do. And so I think I'm going to enjoy the opportunity, if given this chance, to hear from them, present that to you, and also take that to them, what you were able to share with us. So thank you.
Thank you. District 6, which is my district, Stonebridge, Miss Sally Nickel. Okay, and Mr. Dan Rawson. Oh, okay. All right, and then no applicants for 7, and Mr. Kenneth Glatzer for number 8. I don't see him here as well. All right. Thank you very much for coming up and introducing yourselves to us. We'll call for the vote.
I've got one question.
Oh, okay.
A technical question. Do we have to sign these? I mean, I got neighbors involved here.
Yeah, you do.
I just know it was, it would be without signing them, that's all. I mean, not that it would ever get out, but you know, it's.
Well, I don't know, do you read all those into the record? In a situation like this? Name our winner?
Yeah.
Okay, just the outcome.
Not the, how many votes,
Okay,
but not.
Okay, so that
are we
was.
good with that as a board?
Not signing.
Just not putting our names on it, or if you have, I mean, I've already written my name.
I already wrote my name on my. That was the first thing you did in class, put your name
I
on
know.
the paper.
We'll take a lot of ink to cover it now.
Yeah.
No one's gonna egg your house, Richard, we'll be okay.
Well, and there are some other ways that you can certainly volunteer in this city. We're gonna revitalize KLB and do some things in the parks and other things that you could definitely be a part of. You can be invited to attend as a bystander and as an audience member to our meetings. Those will be open. So if you want to go ahead and go through that, in the event that you may want to take that position the next time we bring this up, it's going to be a 2-year term. You know, you will absolutely be invited to do that as well. So thank you all.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, don't be discouraged if you're not necessarily selected, because although it is a 2-year cycle, you know, everybody knows life happens and people do move and jobs change and things, so there might be opportunities, and I would encourage everyone, even if you're not selected, to come to the meetings like you're doing tonight and observe what's going on, so that when things do happen, you're a known face, they know that you're serious and that you really want to contribute and give back. So I would encourage everyone to do that, not just the people that have signed up, but others as well. So
exactly.
It's a huge opportunity to serve, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to fill out our form and hand it this way.
We fold them.
Pass to the left is great, your neighbor's paper.
While that's happening, I was thinking District 7 does have 2 sizable neighborhoods. I think once they see this in action, you'll have people come up and say, hey, I'm part of it.
Well, and before September, when we actually have our first meeting, we can see, and if only one person puts their name out there, they'll just automatically be considered for that district position, and, if more than one, we can invite them to this. I'm thinking September so that we can finish the summer, get all of our kids back to school, and get that month under our belt, and it'll more than likely be is it the third Thursday we talked about, or is there another meeting on that night?
It's an BC.
So what is it, the third? We need,
Yeah, really settle that.
yeah, we need to look at that again before I commit to, but September there will be our kickoff.
Third Tuesday is like.
Well, I want to do it, second week of the cards. Oh, do that. Here we go, one more. And those people selected, the Lakeland Currents would like to take a group picture of you, of us, our group, before you leave, because we still have a few resolutions to get through.
Right, selected, I'd like for you to join me in the conference room so I can shoot a quick.
Should we, while she's counting the votes, would you take a break and go ahead and read resolution 6? Or do we want to wait, at least maybe get one ahead?
Resolution 6,
We get a lot.
approving the purchase of 2 F5 cab chassis with swap loaded by Ford through the state of Tennessee statewide contract.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. It's on the floor for discussion. Emily, you got a long time up here.
We can combine some of the other ones here.
Okay.
Real quickly, but, so, actually 6 and 7, if you wanna combine that one. So this is, has to do with our new leaf collection program. We talked about it during, the budget season. So, in order for us to get started late in the fall, if we go on and approve these purchases, we will probably have them late November, but no later than early December, so it'll be a little bit delayed, but that's the lead time on the trucks, to get those in. So the first resolution 6 is for, the 2 F550, swap loader bodies. So the good thing about these trucks is that, we're actually getting them, one will have a dump bed and one will have a flatbed, but you can, swap the beds of the trucks. You can buy asphalt hot box similar to what we have that we tow behind a truck. You can buy a salt spreader. You can buy pump trucks like what we've used for sewer. So there's a variety of options that you can get with these trucks. And so the rear of the bed of the truck, it's mechanical, it slides off, and then you can put the new one on. So there are other municipalities in the state of Tennessee that have been utilizing these. Chattanooga has several, and some other municipalities, and it's good for people who have smaller fleets, makes it more versatile. So that's why we chose to use these. With the Leaf Act, we really need a 550 to tow those. They get pretty heavy. So these are through state contract, and Ford of Murfreesboro is who has that contract.
Any further discussion?
Questions about?
Well, I know you mentioned it, and you put it out there about the leaf collection. I think it's a great service to have to the city. We're all, a lot of people looking forward to have a forest behind me. Some people have a forest around them, so I know they're looking forward to it.
Yes.
Forest in front of them.
I think we all do. Sorry, we needed that.
He's here to like your reads.
All right, any further discussion on resolution 6? You have a point where you want to call the roll? I'm sorry. Just trying to move us along.
Okay. Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham.
Yes. All right, motion passes unanimous.
Let's check. Let's go get that.
Okay, we have the results from resolution 5. So the check marks are the winners, is that correct? All right, District 1. It was a tough race. But I believe Michael Green pulled it out. Congratulations, Mr. Green. District 2, Kimberly Rossi. Congratulations, and the others, please don't be discouraged. District 3, Jason Valentine. District 4, Benjamin Ledsinger. District 5, Jonathan Spiceland. Congratulations. District 6, Sally Nickel. No one for District 7. And it was tough in District 8, but I believe Mr. Glatzer won it unanimously. So,
Mr. Joyce, would you be willing to be the representative for 7 until we see if there's anybody else interested?
Well, let's see what happens.
Okay.
Obviously, this is published, there may be a candidate that needs to take or sees. I don't see the need in doing anything right now, but
I'll call on you if not.
Well, if you were selected, will you join me?
I don't know, Mr. Davis do it. I mean, I would already like to talk about how we put questions to the board and go ahead and get ready for September. So if Mr. Davis would do it, I would like to see the board fill it out.
Go ahead.
I'd be interested.
Would you do it, Mr. Davis?
I'll nominate Mr. Davis.
All right, thank you. Do we need to do that?
probably should. Do you have a nomination? Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Ayes carry it unanimously.
All right.
Thank you everyone for coming. Please don't be discouraged because we do want you here.
Yes, we can find this.
Michelle, do you want to take a picture?
Kale. Yeah, I know. Bringing Kale in.
All right. Madam Recorder, would you, well,
You still got a quorum?
we still have a quorum, that's right. Rock and roll. Resolution 7, please.
It's all equipment, we all agree on equipment, just keep on.
Resolution approving the purchase of 2 Mack trailer mounted leaf collectors from Stringfellows, Inc. through National Joint Powers contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion would you like to present, please?
Sure, so these are the 2 trailer mounted leaf packs. They're 30 cubic yard. We will buy them from Stringfellow through Sourcewell pricing contract, which used to be NJPA. They've just changed their name. I don't know if are there any questions? I kind of went into we haven't completely ironed out the schedule yet, but we're looking at probably to start off bi-weekly and see how that works. If we need to increase it to weekly, we can do that, but try to make the full city every other week. It's kind of our initial.
This was also accounted for, but sorry.
This is already, everything
Okay.
that I present is most likely. But.
All right. Any further discussion? Let's just do this by call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
I believe we could probably put 8, 9, 10. How many of those?
And 11.
And 11.
I was about to say the same thing. I just looked. I believe that would be fine. If you would, Mayor, Madam Recorder, just for the record, read 8, 9, 10, and 11 together.
Okay. Resolution approving the contract, Tanker System, LLC, for City Works Acts, Assets Management and Permits Licensing, and software. 9, resolution approving a contract with True North Geographic Technologies, LLC, for city work and access management and permits licensing and land implementation. 10, resolution approving a contract with True Geographic Technologies, LLC, for hosting services. 11, resolution approving a contract with Environmental System Research Institute, Inc., for small municipal and county government price agreement.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and second, considering resolution 8 through 11 altogether, just for Commissioner Donald's sake. Emily, anything specific you want to just hit the highlights on all of those?
Yes. We have a presentation, but I think I can talk through it unless you just want to see it. So we talked a little bit about this also in the budget. This is all already included in the budget. We want to change asset management software and permitting planning software. And so we've gone through months and months of looking at different programs, and CityWorks is really something that we've always wanted to be able to be involved in, and the price has always been too high. And several of these companies have reorganized their pricing structure so that smaller municipalities are able to get in on it. So CityWorks is one of them. They have pricing now based on population. So they've offered us a really great deal. So CityWorks annual licensing for both asset management and the permit licensing and land software is $30,000 a year. And with the BHAF software that we're using now, which is has some significant, I guess, lacking in a number of areas, we're paying $25,500 for it. The biggest piece of moving to a new software is the implementation. So the True North contracts, one of them is for implementation, fairly significant, but it's broken up into asset management and to the planning. The planning piece is more expensive because it's a workflow, so it will take, both of these have public portals, but for the planning it takes, someone can apply for a permit or, and it will route it to the appropriate review parties. We can correspond back and forth with them. They can pay their fee. They can check on status. There's citizen engagement pieces where, on the work order side, where citizens can go in and use a mobile application to report things, and it'll automatically be routed to the appropriate department. They can check on the status of work orders. There's just a lot that this has to offer, and going forward, it's something that we can grow with. Where with Beehive right now, we're sort of stuck, and we need more and want more, and we can't get any more out of that software. The analytics that come with CityWorks is outstanding. They have dashboards that you can customize. We would be able to provide the board of commissioners each with their own dashboard, so you could tell us what you want to see. Do you want to see how many permits are generated? Do you want to see where they're generated? Do you want to see how many work orders are out there? I mean, you wouldn't be able to dive too deep without us getting involved, but you can see an overall view of what's going on in the city, and that's customizable. So there's a lot that this has to offer. The last contract with Esri, we utilize Esri right now, the ArcGIS license. We just would have to have the enterprise license to use this software. So that allows us to have unlimited users. If we did not upgrade our license, we'd have to buy individual users for everyone who's using the software. So that's one of the biggest things. It also opens up a lot of applications. This has planning elements. We can do plan capital projects. We can do condition assessments on our pipes, on our streets. It integrates with our pavement management software. It's all like a one-stop shop for most all city operations, with the exception of Kyle's department. So I don't know if you have any direct questions. I can't talk too much about it. We're really excited about it. But I think this is something that would move us into the future, getting us involved and being more efficient and allowing public and permittees to, have results faster and kind of track kind of what we have going on in City Hall.
Question. Did you really just offer Commissioner Wesley write his own dashboard?
It's on the
I
record.
tell you, it's your.
There is a limit to what you can fit.
On the record.
There's a limit to what you can fit on the dashboard, but it may reduce our phone calls, right?
My comment was gonna be, we were promised the same thing with BI or something similar, and it never came to fruition. I mean, I trust and believe in, I hope this one is different.
It is, very much so. We had similar expectations with Beehive. This software has been around a lot longer, and it integrates seamlessly with GIS. There's not right now. We're having to do uploads and manipulations with data, and it's just, it's a much better software package. We just couldn't afford it when we looked at it. When we looked at Beehive, and it was in the hundreds of thousands for the license. So they have recognized that and are trying to bring in the smaller municipalities. So they offer training for us if we want to. So the implementation cost is a one-time thing unless we really want to take on a big project. We can go to training and they'll teach us how to set up cases, which are sort of like permits and inspections and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to have more administrative control than we have now. Right now we have very little.
Any further discussion?
Just one quick question. Will your current laptops and stuff be able to support this, or are you going to have to get new ones down the road?
No, so our PCs are fine. With the mobile application, we are really looking to try to get away from, we're having to use Surface Pros with Beehive, and they're quite expensive. With these mobile applications, we can use a smartphone or, a couple $100 tablet. So our cost of our equipment that we have to use for mobile is going to go significantly down. We are, the second True North contract for hosting, we are trying to move really away from our servers in the back room. We have gone to Office 365. So that's on the cloud. We're trying to move our server with all of our documents on the cloud. And so this hosting, we would either have to buy a server here or we would just have them host, which is what we would propose. We don't really have an IT department, and so it makes more sense to let them host, take care of all the updates and things like that.
All right. Feel like we need a roll call vote on this. Let's just, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8, 9, 10, and 11 carried unanimously by a vote. Madam Recorder, if you would, Emily, do you have anything else that you think would justify combining?
No.
Okay. Would you, Madam Recorder, please read resolution number 12?
Resolution approving a facility encroachment agreement with CSX Transportation, Inc. for the Clear Creek Interceptor Project.
So moved. Second.
Fair enough. Motion made and seconded. Floor is open for discussion.
So this is a contract to allow us to put the Clear Creek Interceptor under the railroad. We have to cross, and so they require us to enter into this facility encroachment agreement. I have had Bill Patterson review and mark up the contract, and we have sent it back to CSX. So I did add some language in the resolution. It was minor language that I think we could live with if they won't change the language, but we did have a request. So in the resolution, I added some language that the contract was approved subject to minor revisions from the city attorney. I just wanted you to make sure that you're aware of that. But that's what it is. It's the agreement for us to allow us to put the sewer line under the railroad.
All right, any further discussion? All right, I'll just call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed? Yes, motion carries. Madam Recorder, please, if you would, resolution 13.
13, resolution approving the hazard mitigation grant program application for 9599 Bruce Drive.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion on the floor and seconded. Floor is open for discussion.
So I will be.
Who are you?
So, due to several flooding occurrences over the last 2 years, resulting in repetitive damages to their home, Matt and Shannon Fuller have requested to apply for a hazard mitigation grant
program for their home at 9599 Blue Spruce Drive to submit to FEMA through the city of Lakeland. And the city has actually done this before for previous, or for another property owner 80 years ago. The cost share, if the application is approved, includes the federal government providing 75% of the share, the state providing 12.5% of the share, and the property owners who have agreed to pay the local share of 12.5%. And we are asking permission to submit the application on behalf of the Fullers. And I would also like to note that Ms. Fuller is here tonight if you have any questions for her. If you want to.
Sure. We're buying the property, correct? I read the resolution, and it sounded like we were
Yes.
buy the property and make the house go away and floods off.
Yeah.
Okay. My only question is about Lakeland Heights. You know, this is, you know, the problem over there continues. We could be looking, you know, since we've had the same house over there 2 or 3 times. So,
yeah.
2 or 3, I can't remember.
Only once since the improvements to the pond.
Right. It was back in 2010, I guess.
Yeah, that was before. So this is different. I mean, they've had, their house was built in the lowest spot of that subdivision. They've got 3 drains in their yard. We've already done a significant amount of improvements to the drains. There's not much else that we can do, and they are willing to give up their house. I mean, of course, we're buying it from them through the federal dollars, but they, it's not something that they necessarily would want to do. You know? And Ms. Fuller can speak to it. She's very passionate about this and has, you know, endured several floods. And so,
I don't think we hear from her directly.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I believe it's definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'm just curious about how it impacts. That's fine.
it just, so the property, we will retain it forever, and it just will be grass. We'll have to remove everything from the property, it'll just stay grass. Similar to what we did, it was on Salem Lake, so it's the exact same grant.
No problem. I'm just curious how it impacted other
So
flood
the
areas.
kids get placed on her on it as long as it stays dry. No, I'm just.
It wouldn't be in your timeline. You have to wait on an approval from the federal government.
Oh, okay, yeah, that won't fit. That won't fit with my.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I believe this is the right thing to do. And as we move forward as a city, there will sure be others, I'm sure, that will cross that bridge when we get there. Any further discussion?
I guess the verbiage is we're acquiring it, that's fine, because it's not, I mean, we're getting it, but it's federal money, state money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so we receive a grant, yeah, so the way it happens is the federal government awards the city of Lakeland a grant to purchase the property and to demolish the home. So that's how the money is given to us, and then, through reimbursement, we receive it.
Yeah. Very typical.
Sorry.
All right, I'll just call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's terrible what you've been through, so we're here to support you.
All right, on order. Please, resolution 14.
14, resolution approving licensing agreement with GDOT for placement of a gateway monument sign on Highway 63.
I'll make the motion to bring that to the floor.
Second?
Motion and second. Floor is up for discussion.
Yeah, I think we've all asked about this one before. Do you want to go ahead?
No, okay.
Okay.
No,
Sorry, you had some already lined up.
I was on the dashboard.
All right, so we've all asked about this location. We have the older sign already there. It gets a lot of traffic from 64. Everyone knows 64 is a major corridor for people coming from Fayette County or back and forth. I think it'd be a great addition to go ahead and continue that. The signs we've been doing that we already have in Canada and 64, as well as it's at By Stone Bridge, Sprouts. I can't think of the street name all of a sudden, but you know. No, the one further. The one that already exists. The street. Fletcher Tracks. Usually the street person, I can't think of it right. But, so just continuing that theme we're going, I know we're gonna do the same thing as well at the exit with some other signage at 2 spots, Canada and 940. I think it's a good thing to keep consistency, and it would just a great way of welcoming people coming from that direction, going west.
You're talking about the eastern boundary there, Chapter, just the wood sign.
The wood sign is coming around.
Yeah.
That's not in great condition.
What's the time frame?
Shane, well, you got to think more about the front time frame. It's something I thought we already didn't really set in motion. We already kind of talked about it.
This essentially has given us approval to locate a sign here. Now, I believe, I don't know what our current bid situation is for those gateway signs. We need to rebid this, most likely. I don't know.
We have a contractor that, we approved a contract not knowing that it was gonna take TDOT this long to get us our approval, so they're still interested in doing the job. I don't know if we need to consult with our attorney because it's been so long, but, we can do that. But they check in every couple of months and say, how's the progress going? So they're still interested in doing the job for the same price if we're willing to let them do it.
Can we amend this to approve that?
The contract's already approved. You've approved the contract with them.
So just staff direction to get it done.
With the contractor, like to start construction?
Yeah.
I guess that would be pending TDOT's.
Yeah.
Our deal with them, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what it says.
Both sides.
What? Yeah,
We get the licensing agreement, so yeah.
we know TDOT's pace, so we're now. I'm being
I mean,
nice.
it probably
I'm
takes 30
being nice.
days to get their signature back. Probably 30 days to get their signature
Okay,
back.
and then we just hop on
It's
it.
gotta give us time to get the contractor lined up.
Okay.
But
Just-
40 and 64 on something like this, that's still a number.
Yeah, so you know more than I would about the actual design and layout. They've not released that to us, have they? So the ramp, it's gonna cut into that property, that hill. We just don't know where exactly. That keeps us in kind of like, okay, you don't wanna build anything where you think it's gonna demolish, because they like their space. TDOT likes to have it. Right away.
That's an interesting concept, something like that, to put up there.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great.
However, at the end of the agenda, when Commissioner Wright talks about the edge grant, part of that is painting, more of a, I guess, a Lakeland image on the water tower, freshening up, I guess. So that could help with the entrance.
The old stone bridge that's been here forever.
Yeah.
All right, let's just call for the vote on this. Resolution 14, approving the licensing agreement with TDOT. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries unanimously. Madam Recorder, would you please read Resolution 15?
Resolution authorizing an amendment to the interlocal agreement with the Memphis Light Gas and Water Division of the City of Memphis for the purpose of collecting sewer, solid waste, and stormwater charge for the City of Lakeland.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Floor is open for discussion. This is Mr. Shane.
So this may look familiar. You all just approved this at the last meeting, and it was probably 2 days later that I got an email from MLGW with new percentages. So the percentages that you approved in the last agreement have been tweaked. So if you look at section 1.3, solid waste, stormwater, went from 2 to 2.43 of gross billed revenues per month. Stormwater and solid waste, I'm sorry. 2.43 for stormwater and solid waste and 2.83 for sewer charges, and that was 1.5. So fairly significant increases. I think some of the concern is on infrastructure issues in Memphis, that they're kind of pushing that onto their participating member communities, and we're going to pay for some of their infrastructure needs through this building collection process, unfortunately. So it does add cost to what we've paid out in the past. As I tallied out the difference between what we did previously and the proposed for solid waste, it's about a $5,000 difference for stormwater. Just insignificant, it's about $800, but for sewer, it's a little more significant, about $13,000. So just to give you, and I printed this off for you if you're interested in it, but from a sales tax collection, we pay 2% of sales tax collection to Shelby County. That's about on a $1.1 million collection. That's about $22,000. Property tax collection fees, again, 2% of say 4.4 million was our last number. So 88,600. So if you total off all the collection fees, it's just over $185,000 that we paid to Shelby County for their services. So at some point, I think we need to, as Lakeland continues to grow, potentially look at maybe bringing some of this in-house. Obviously, we don't have our own water system, so water and sewer bills are based on water meter reading usage, which we don't have access to that, so that's kind of their thing, if you will. But potentially there's some things here that we could explore down the road, as we continue to grow. And the other thing is then we can set our own timelines on when things go out, and so we can have more say in how we conduct our own business, if you will. So just something to put in the back of your minds, I guess, from that standpoint. But I need to get this back in front of you, because obviously what you approved at the last meeting has now been changed by MLGW, so those are the percentage changes.
Is there a deadline? I mean, like, lay it? Is there something that's clock sticking on us here?
I mean, as far as go ahead and delaying this for now?
But we don't have a choice, do we? I mean, if they raise their rates and they're passing it on to us, we can't say no. Or can you say no and object? I mean, what do you do?
They're kind of the only show in town.
I know.
Yeah, potentially, we'll go back and negotiate this over a period of time, maybe. But I can only make that suggestion, I guess. They are holding all the cards at this point.
I think if you just work toward putting our own system together to collect our own money, that's what we should do, is eat this until I know you can make it happen down the road. But,
yeah, I don't know that we're close to getting that.
Well, it can't happen in
that
a year or 2
I
years.
think that's
You just need to
Take serious population to
right.
Understand. More autonomy in all fronts would be great.
Yeah.
One little thing, Oliver Creek, that didn't impact that, does it? No. Well, I know that's something, acquiring it and all that.
Well, I mean, so it doesn't impact it that way, but I mean, you're gonna increase your billing.
The other one.
I mean, you're gonna increase your number of people being billed, so. I mean, so you'd be collecting a sewer fee from thousands more people, so you're gonna pay that percentage, right?
That's the one.
But it doesn't affect.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
It doesn't affect the project itself as far as getting it going in the ground, but we would, as we bring more people online, you gotta pay, your percentage, your dollar amount.
Changes off to negotiate for, make the motion deferred.
Yeah.
No, it was like that's
Well, it doesn't hurt.
30 years, I want to try.
Yeah, worth a try.
It's amazing. It took something outside my house 3 summers
I'll
to get repaired, but they get quick to tell you how much money that you owe them. They care less finish any work.
They're interesting place. They were a customer.
Motion to defer.
Yeah, to defer this until the next meeting and give him a chance to see if he can work some magic. All right, motion second. All right, any other discussion on deferral? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll defer this to the next BOC meeting next month. And Madam
resolution authorizing cash grant matching fund for this year, 2019-2020.
I'll move to get this on the floor.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, floor is open for discussion.
Alrighty, yeah, I talked about this last week, and I didn't have the information right in front of you. Now you do this huge packet, it's in the back there. It shows you some things the Lakeland Chamber has been looking at. One thing was the water tower. I think that would be a great thing for us to be able to use it as a marketing tool for Lakeland as a welcome, for big visual for people to see as they drive down I-40. But there's other ways that money can be used, whether it's marketing, probably maybe overhaul the website, you know, for the city of Lakeland. But I think this would be a good thing to commit to, because they're one of our biggest partners in marketing to Lakeland, to everyone around Shelby County and beyond.
I'd only ask that at the end of the year, they come back and say, this is what we do with your money, you know, spend.
Yeah.
Give us reports and just all the great things.
Yeah, taxpayer dollars, and we need to hold them accountable for how they spend it.
Right now, well, it's like we talked about with waiting on TDOT, so it's the water tower, we're not waiting on TDOT. That's a different entity we're having, you know, you can negotiate with on that one.
Like, yes, more.
Yeah. Them again. So, and that's in the process right now. So I think it's something that money we've already committed previously can be used towards that, and maybe this can commit to it, because it's not cheap. Shane can probably comment on that, right? It's not cheap to do it, because you have to drain the tower, because of condensation.
Oh,
because you try to paint when water's in there, that's one issue. And then you have to be on site to supervise, but you can't just send a painter out there and say, hey, go at it. It's more complicated than a house or a building, regular buildings.
I think the other thing just to understand is we don't have necessarily approval to do this at this point, and so that's a kind of process, so this is not going to happen. I don't know what their schedule is to repaint that tank, but I think the request was made to someone within MLGW, and they got some favorable response, but
It's still not a done deal.
Still not a done deal, so.
It's one of the products.
I mean, in theory, it sounds great. I think to put our logo on there makes a lot of sense. But nothing has been finalized at all at this point.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Just saying, this is, what we're voting on is with the assumption that this would happen, so I don't know if there's some way to make sure that this is a priority. I don't want to vote on it with the assumption that this is happening, and then we didn't get priority, so we did something else with the money. Does that make sense? So I don't know if there's a way to.
Yeah, I think if we get direction from MLG, whether that's a yay or nay, if it's a nay, then we come back to this body and say, we were not able to get it. What other items would you like to use those resources for that we're going to use for the tank? Just come back to you for that direction at that time.
We could absolutely amend this resolution to say, understanding that funds will be used to repaint the Stone Bridge water tower. And then if it doesn't happen, you can always come back and.
Yeah, you have several options on that first, the first page. It says 1, 2, 3 after marketing. This is what we talked about. Identifying structure for I-40 and 64, what we're talking about. And that's kind of in limbo because we don't know where TDOT stands on where they want to be in their footprint. You know? So that would be another option. So we had some really good brainstorming going on with people, Renaissance and I think there's some really neat way of welcoming people, kind of giving people an idea, okay, this is Lakeland, you know, from that direction. Because most people, honestly, they don't know the boundaries. It's not really clear when I think about it. People that are visiting, and people that even live here, they're not, people that live here, they're like, what do you mean, Kroger's? No, Kroger's in Memphis. And Lakeland starts here, because it's an odd shape anyway. It's like a triangle right there as you're coming down I-40, you're going towards, taking exit at 64. That would just be one way of saying, hey, if the water tower thing doesn't pan out.
I would like to make an amendment. I'd like to make the motion to amend the second whereas to include where it states initiates as outlined in the 2019 proposal and 2019-2020 initiatives that appears there to be done.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on amending that language? All right, so let's vote on the amended thing, then we'll vote to approve the. All right, so all in favor of the amended version, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended version carries, and I would entertain a motion to push the full thing through now as amended. I'll second that. Once again, any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously as amended. All right, Madam Recorder, item 17.
Discussion and presentation on the U.S. Census 2020.
You want to hold that off and address number 18 first? Or do you want to frame a joint meeting with things?
That's what it would say. We're going to put the assist
The ordinance that you asked for earlier. Number 18. Supposed to take 17?
Yeah.
Just jumping away one
I
time.
just knocked it out. 17.
Yeah. Just quickly, I had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Fluker of the U.S. Census Bureau a couple months ago, kind of introducing ourselves to each other, obviously, and trying to gear up for, obviously, a very important census in 2020, kind of putting some timelines together and kind of getting at least me to start thinking about how we need to kind of rise to the occasion, if you will. So I wanted to allow Mr. Fluker to kind of introduce himself and talk about the census coming up and what our next steps will be as your next steps will be as an elected body, kind of getting an account committee geared up to start looking at marketing and opportunities to make sure that we get out in front of our residents with the importance of making sure every resident is counted and what that does for our community from a revenue standpoint. So I want to give Mr. Fluker an opportunity to, again, introduce himself and set some timelines going forward.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. As Mr. Horn said, my name is Terrence Fluker. I am the Partnership Specialist for the U.S. Census Bureau based here in Shelby County. We are gearing up for the 2020 census. We're very excited about the process. One of the things that I wanted to mention tonight is the count for the city of Lakeland. In 2010, the official count was, wait a minute, it's a government cell phone. 12,430. Based on our population estimate done in 2018, July 1st, 2018, we had Lakeland with a population of 12,617. So you saw a 1.6% growth in the city, and we want to make sure that those numbers remain as accurate as possible when doing the 2020 census count. What we want to let you know is the three important things about the census process. Number one, it's secure. Number two, it's easy. And number three, it's important. Number one, the secure aspect of what it is we do. Over the course of the past 10 years, we've had to deal with numerous issues of identity theft and protection of personal information and privacy. The Census Bureau takes this very seriously. One of the things that we want to let people know is that we all at the Bureau have a very vested interest in protecting your personal identifiable information. we're subject to a 5-year, $250,000 fine if we share any personal information to anyone or any entity or source. So trust us, we have a very vested interest in that process. It's a lifetime oath we have to take. I took it in 2010 when I worked this process before, and I'm still beholden to it to this day. Your personal private information or personally identifiable information is protected for a period of 72 years. Now, this is information that identifies you, your name residing at this address. No one else can see that. We report statistical information in the aggregate. In other words, when we break down a city like Lakeland, we break it down into census tracts. And in that census tract, we'll say this many people reside in this census tract, this many people are male, this many people are female. Just statistical information only is shared. Number two, the process itself is easy. You will receive a form in the mail. You'll fill out the 10 questions. It should take no longer than 10 minutes to fill it out. And not only for the first time will you not only be able to respond by mail, you'll also be able to respond by telephone. And for the very first time, you'll be able to respond by the internet as well. So we're hoping a lot of people will take advantage of that new option and just get it knocked out. When we say internet, you'll be able to use your phone too. Just pull it up on your browser, answer the questions. You'll receive a code in the mail when you get your census form. Each residence will be geocoded, and there'll be a code assigned to that residence. And all you need to do is to enter that you chose the internet option and responded in that manner. Number three is important. Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution mandates a census every 10 years. That information is used to provide for the apportionment of Congress. We also distribute that information to the states, towns, cities like Lakeland to use that to set up in the parameters of voting districts, school board districts. The information is also used to distribute $675 billion a year in federal funding. So another way to look at it is if you extrapolate that over the next 10 years, since this data is going to be gathered in 2030, it's going to impact the communities until 2030. So it'll impact almost $6.5 to $7 trillion of federal spending for that 10-year period. We're very excited about the census, as we said. We talked with Mr. Horn about the establishment of a complete count committee. This is a committee that is designated by the people, by Mr. Horn, to talk about the process of the census and come up with ways to get the information out to your community and to let them know about it. It could be anything from putting the census logo on a website you may have to distributing materials, advertising, whatever it takes that you believe will help effectively reach your community to participate in this process. That's what that committee will be charged with doing. So we're looking forward to setting that committee up and getting that running. We've also talked with Dr. Horrell of the Lakeland school system, talking about our Statistics in Schools program, which is a free online program for grades K through 12. It has all kinds of activities and things for kids to go over and get them excited about the census process and to kind of, interject that process with the kids. This is a freestanding educational model. It's not designed to replace anything that you have as far as curriculum. It's designed to just kind of cherry pick and add to what you have just to give the opportunity for kids to know about the census. The last thing I want to say is that we are hiring. We are hiring. I've included some information about that. We're going to be hiring about 5,000 people here in Shelby County, definitely from the city of Lakeland. We like to hire people in the communities that reside and give them an opportunity to earn some extra money and help the community as well. I've included this in packets for each of you. Each of those packets does have my card. I do have a Jackson, Tennessee phone number, but I promise you I am based here in Shelby County. I work out of my house in Raleigh. So if you need me for anything, any questions, I am available. Just give me a call and I'll be more than happy to assist you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your patience.
Except there were long meetings.
I did this all the time with all kinds of meetings like this, so I'm fine. Hope you enjoy it.
All right. Before we get this straight in our picture, sure. to item 18, which we just got passed out, which was ordinance 3 from the June 26th commissioners meeting.
Ordinance first reading, amending fiscal year 2019 through 2020 budget, passed by ordinance 19-275 on May 19, 2019.
All right, I'll make a motion to bring this to the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. The ordinance is on the floor. The floor is open for discussion.
In a nutshell, we want to cut the taxes back, correct?
That's what this first reading is.
First time that.
First reading to take tax rate, property tax rate back to 125 per 1,000, or sorry, per 100 assessed. Any discussion at all?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on the floor.
Thank you. I brought this to, or I second to bring this to the floor this morning, or this evening, earlier, I knew it felt like this morning, right? Because this is just the first reading, which requires two, and it would basically cut off a couple of weeks of waiting for 7 days in between the August meeting. But as we continued the conversation, you know, I said, you know, we could do this in August after we have received approvals. And the city manager said, well, or we can meet in 7 days and get it and just knock it out. So I kind of feel like I'm maybe being hoodwinked here. So for that reason, well, I mean, I said in August, and you said, or we can do it in 7 days. And I don't want pressure on me to come and do it when I've already said, man, I feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, there's no pressure. My job is to provide alternatives. You don't have to listen to any of my alternatives. That's what my job, I believe, is to provide those alternatives to you. That's simply all I was doing. I'm not trying to push you in one direction or another. That's simply all I was doing.
I'm still concerned about that August 2nd date. I mean, we're already too late, right? Is there gonna have to be something done at the trustee's office anyway because of us, you know, Monday's the 15th. They started putting in numbers on the 10th. We're already there. We're already in the thick of this to where there's gonna have to be numbers put in, even though we've asked them to delay the mailing of the tax bills.
Yeah, there's going to be a manual manipulation of the tax rate.
So is there any less work on their part if we decide today, rather than deciding on a timeline where we get that August 2nd commitment? Would there be any change in the amount of work that they would have to do if we have, you know, we have our meetings closer to that August 2nd deadline? I'm not gonna be here in 7 days, I'll tell you, I'm going on vacay. But, you know, are we
The only thing this is going to do is we won't have to do this once we get the commitment letter. That's the only thing this is going to do. It's not going to change the fact that we're going to have to pay to re-enter this.
Yeah, we're already in that.
We're there.
Our feet are there. We are already gonna have to do the changes. So, you know, when I asked you this before, when you were discussing, you know, the timeline and the different things that we have still yet to wait on, that the words exactly escape me at this point. The financial
Feasibility?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, we're still waiting on that. We still have a few more days with the environmental study. At this point, we're already into having to make changes. So.
Yeah, I think the time to address that would have been at the last meeting, and that's what I was trying to convey, but that's.
But, you know, we still, it is a government entity. And we've talked tonight all about that, and the timelines, and the waiting game, and everything that we play. We play these games every day, waiting on people to get their jobs done, and their studies done, and their feasibilities done. And it's just, I mean, we're already in it. So I don't see any harm in delaying a little longer to make that decision.
Well, the people, the homeowners are concerned. You're gonna, it's gonna cause problems.
Well, we're already in that.
But yeah, the sooner we commit to fixing it, and if it falls through, it falls through, we're back to where we're going to leave it. Square one, and square one's already in place. So all we're doing now is,
I think the initiative is, we're trying to help the taxpayers of Lakeland, because this affects the escrow accounts for their home mortgages, for people that have that, and they're paying tax rates into escrow. The sooner we can get this done, the sooner we're helping our constituents out.
Of course, but they're already behind. I mean, we're already into that. They're
And the
still
longer
gonna
we
have to
wait, the
pay.
worse it makes it. That's what Shane was trying to articulate earlier. The longer this goes, the more calculations have to be done.
I know more calculations have to be done. I think it still gets rectified in the end. I think it's one thing, we're just making it way too political. I mean, it's, obviously,
well, it is.
No, that's just it though. I think this is a soap opera here sometimes. I think we're getting way too political. And I think we gotta understand, in the end, this is rectified, and that we're not trying to take advantage of citizens, okay? We're trying to make sure this USDA is locked, not just words of assurance, but literally line of credit. We know it's done deal for sure. I love assurances, I get it. It's not that I don't trust Shane, it's not that I don't trust anyone else involved. I'm talking about, we know for sure. And then once we know that's for sure, we can get this rectified. It's easy to fix. We're talking about temporary inconveniences here. This is nothing that's going to just ruin someone's lives. I think it's what gets put out there. We're not ruining anyone's lives. And it's something they get their money back on later on.
Tell the unmarried couples that have been calling me, escrow, I cannot afford this house note if my house, if my taxes.
Tax increase, unless they have $1 million home, the tax increase we're talking about here, split up over escrow, over so many months, is not going to sink your battleship. It's not.
It may not for you, but it does for other people.
I'm not Daddy Warbucks either. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I think we're making this, wait, let's blow this up.
Okay, let's not argue about it. We're not gonna make it political. Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
I just want to say one thing. Earlier tonight, we got on to Yehuda a little bit for pushing his problems onto us. All right? He's got a financing issue, and it's based on timing. What's lost in this is the whole plan came down to being told to be added until October 1st. And now the October 1st, that the October information we were told ended up not being good. So now that problem is being pushed on us. I think it's a very similar situation we had earlier tonight, and we chose not to accept it. So again, I choose not to accept this.
Madam Recorder, I'm going to close the floor for discussion. Would you please call the roll on lowering our tax rate back to 1.5? Ordinance, please.
Vice Mayor Moore,
No.
Commissioner Dow,
No.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
yes.
Commissioner Wright,
No.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
2 yes, 3 no's.
All right. Any announcements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?